powerful sword legacy returns to the Li family, bringing new strength and new responsibilities. But beyond the mountains, the death of Eastern Xuanyuan's ruler creates an unexpected opportunity. As rival clans maneuver in the shadows, the next generation of the Li family begins learning what it truly means to hold power. Welcome to episode 23. Xiao Yuansi finally took out two jade slips, one large and one small. He stood the smaller one upright on the table and said softly, "This is the Spirit-Eyed Azure Pupils, a rare ocular technique skilled at piercing illusions and false barriers. It is difficult to cultivate. Chijing originally prepared it for Shangping after hearing that Shangping used a bow. Then he solemnly placed the larger jade slip into Li Tongya's hands and warned him. This is Chijing's sword art. He recorded it himself and named it the Moon Cicada Sword Canon. By his own estimation, it can be considered a 5th-grade cultivation method, so it is even more precious. You must never allow word of it to spread outside the family. Chijing left his own spiritual signature on it as proof that I have never studied it." Those words moved Li Tongya deeply. A 5th-grade cultivation method was enough to tempt even Purple Mansion cultivators, let alone Xiao Yuansi, who at the time had most likely not even reached foundation establishment. Li Tongya hurriedly rose and bowed respectfully. Senior's integrity leaves Tongya in admiration. The two men exchanged a look. There was nothing more that needed to be said. Only then did Xiao Yuansi relax enough to sit back down and take a few sips of tea. The courtyard was empty except for the two of them. Li Tongya lowered his voice. "Senior, may I ask? How much longer can this matter remain hidden?" Xiao Yuansi set down his tea bowl. He had already guessed some of what Li Tongya was thinking. After several breaths of thought, he replied, "Apart from a few Purple Mansion cultivators, only Qi Yun of the Qi clan and I should know. Qi Yun has entered seclusion and dislikes social dealings. What the Qi clan did was hardly glorious, so he has no reason to publicize it. I certainly will not speak of it either. Keeping this hidden for another 50 years should not be a problem." Xianxia silently engraved that deadline into his heart and thanked Xiao Yuansi. The atmosphere in the courtyard suddenly grew heavy. Both men opened their mouths, but neither knew what to say. Xiao Yuansi drank his tea, visibly restless, then finally spoke. "Great upheaval is coming to the state of Yue. 3 peak Purple Mansion cultivators of the previous generation have all reached the end of their lifespans. Chaos is certain to follow. One is a rogue cultivator whose whereabouts are uncertain. Another is among the Xuanyuan. He has been extending his life with secret techniques for years, but something went wrong and left him in a very miserable state. The last is Qi Wei of the Qi clan. All 3 are at death's door and are searching for ways to break through to Golden Core. Their chances are not high, but they cannot be ignored." Li Tongya listened carefully. Then Xiao Yuansi's eyes suddenly brightened, and his tone became enthusiastic. "Come to think of it, 6 or 7 of those snake dragon fruits should have ripened by now, shouldn't they? Since I am already here, I might as well refine them into pills. If they are stored for too long, their spiritual energy will only dissipate. This? How could I impose on Senior yet again?" Li Tongya was caught between gratitude and embarrassment by Xiao Yuansi's enthusiasm. After exchanging a few polite words, he waved his hand. Outside the courtyard, Li Xuanyuan received his transmission of spiritual power and hurried off to retrieve the snake dragon fruits. Xiao Yuansi stayed on Mount Lijing for several days. He spent most of his time refining pills and also pointed out flaws in Li Tongya's cultivation, guiding him on the path ahead. The river's one-breath art, once cultivated to foundation establishment, forms an immortal foundation known as the Vast Sea. Its spiritual power surges without end and carries tremendous momentum. Those who cultivate it can often withstand several opponents at once, and their power circulates exceptionally quickly. The former master of Wangyu Lake Market cultivated this very method. It took 3 cultivators of the same realm, each wielding specialized artifacts, to surround and kill him. The weakness is that the method is rather blunt and lacking in finesse. Paired with your swordsmanship, however, the two complement each other perfectly. Li Tongya nodded and carefully committed every word to memory. Then he remembered the Yu clan disciple who had entered Yuanwu Peak and asked, "Senior, the Yu clan by Wangyu Lake has a disciple who entered Yuanwu Peak. Do you know of him?" Xiao Yuansi nodded as he put away the jade boxes in his hands. "Before leaving the Qingqi sect, I investigated the surrounding clans. The Yu clan was among them. That disciple is named Yu Muxian. His cultivation talent can only be called decent, but he has exceptional talent for artifact refinement, which is why Yuanwu Peak values him. Speaking of him, I heard an interesting rumor." Xiao Yuansi lowered his head with a smile and looked at Li Tongya. Yu Muxian petitioned the main line of Yuanwu Peak for control over an entire county. Not only that, he had the right to recruit disciples in that county assigned exclusively to Yuanwu Peak. Because of that, Yuanwu Peak has already filled its disciple quotas for the coming years. In other words, For the next several decades, unless someone happens to pass through and finds a promising angled by chance, no one from the Qingqi Peaks will come to Wangyue Lake to recruit disciples. Li Tongya thought for a breath, then sighed. What a brilliant scheme. The various clans around Wangyue Lake had never been able to swallow one another, largely because each had different ties to the many peaks of the Qingqi sect. Attacking openly could invite punishment from the sect, and the Yu clan had long found those tangled connections troublesome. Yet the peak masters were not the clan's caretakers. A little personal connection only went so far. The destruction of the Lu clan was still fresh in everyone's memory. Most of these relationships depended on one or two relatives. Once the older generation died, the protection disappeared, and an entire clan could be destroyed soon after. By cutting off recruitment at its source, the Yu clan had severed the hopes of most neighboring families. As the older generation slowly withered away, those clans would eventually lose their protection, giving the Yu clan opportunities to profit. Stopping the other peaks from recruiting here also removes one enormous threat. Li Tongya thought this as he accepted the pills Xiao Yuansi handed him. And Jingming's talent was undoubtedly among the best Wangyue Lake had seen in a century. If he entered the Qingqi sect, the Yu clan's southern expansion would be blocked. And if a neighboring clan produced a genius who entered the sect, the Yu patriarch would probably lose sleep every night. Such an effective plan. Yu Mugao and Yu Xiaogui must have spent a fortune in gifts and favors to arrange it. That father and son truly are difficult opponents. Xiao Yuansi slapped the pill furnace before him. The final batch of snake origin pills shot from the furnace, glowing brilliantly as they circled once through the air before dropping into the jade bottle in his hand. Done. 7 snake dragon fruits produce 45 pills in total. According to the arrangement we made before, I will take 9 and leave the remaining 36 to you. Li Tongya immediately shook his head. He was no longer the inexperienced boy who had first stepped onto the immortal path. After cultivating around the lake for 30 or 40 years, he understood the usual fees charged by alchemists. Senior, you are favoring our family far too much. In alchemy, if the client provides the ingredients, anything beyond a 50% success rate normally belongs to the alchemist. How can you only take a share after the yield passes 70%? Senior has already helped our family too much. How could I possibly accept this without shame? Xiao Yuansi paused, then chuckled softly. I have already reached foundation establishment. Snake origin pills are completely useless to me. I am taking these 9 only because I do not want to break the rules entirely. Your Li clan has many juniors now and plenty of places where pills are needed. There is no need to stand on ceremony with me. Absolutely not. Li Tongya clasped his hands. He knew Xiao Yuansi still felt guilty toward Chijing and was using this opportunity to compensate the Li family. Our family truly does need these pills urgently, but we cannot accept them in this manner. He took 50 spirit stones from his storage pouch, placed them on the table, and said respectfully, if these pills are of no use to Senior, then please accept spirit stones in exchange. I ask Senior to take them. Xiao Yuansi calculated briefly and immediately understood that Li Tongya was still paying according to the standard 50% division. 50 spirit stones was even slightly more than required. He swept his sleeve and accepted them. Very well. I will not make things difficult for you. I'll take them. He rose to leave but suddenly remembered something and spoke warmly. Lixia County was massacred and now has very little population left. My Xiao clan will need to relocate some people there from the clans along Guli Road. A junior of mine will come later to discuss the details with you. Junior understands. Allow me to see Senior off. Li Tongya hurriedly agreed. He watched Xiao Yuansi's flying shuttle disappear into the horizon. Only then did Li Xuanyuan dare enter from outside. Seeing the jade bottles covering the table, his face lit with joy. With this batch of pills, the cultivation of our family members can advance another step. Li Tongya nodded, swept his sleeve, and stored the pills away. Snake origin pills are famous for their gentle nature. Both embryonic breathing and qi refining cultivators can take them. They could not be more suitable for our family. Li Xuanyuan calculated the time and smiled. I have remained at the peak of embryonic breathing for 2 years. With the snake origin pills and the medicine from the Dharma mirror, breaking through to qi refining should now be almost certain. Li Tongya took out a pill and handed it to him. Have you decided which cultivation method you will practice? The Purple Thunder secret origin art is powerful, but profound Yin Thunder essence can only be gathered during certain thunderstorms. I cannot wait indefinitely for that. So my choices are the River's One Breath art and the Cavern Spring Spirit Winding art. Each has its own strengths, but this nephew is leaning toward the Cavern Spring Spirit Winding art. Li Xuanyuan answered in one breath. Clearly he had been planning this for a long time. Li Tongya waved a hand. Tell me why. The Cavern Spring Spirit Winding art uses spring essence to refine qi. It is rich in vitality, agile and subtle, and gives considerable assistance in talisman crafting. I have studied the talisman path for decades now. If I continue down that road, I can contribute more to the family in the future. Besides, Xuanling uses the sword, and the river's one breath art is extremely well suited to him. If everyone in our family cultivates the same river Qi, our characteristics will be too obvious. Enemies could easily develop ways to target us. Li Tongya nodded as he listened, then handed him a portion of cavern spring essence that had been sitting in his storage pouch for years. Then, do as you say. Settle the household affairs first. If Yuanshu cannot handle something, pass it to Xuanling. After that, enter seclusion. Li Xuanyuan nodded firmly. Li Tongya then took out the spirit-eyed azure pupils and instructed him to deliver it to Xuanfeng, who was in seclusion. Afterward, he produced the jade slip containing Xiao Yuansi's alchemical knowledge. I have read through this. Alchemy is not something anyone can master simply through effort. It requires talent. Copy out the section on pill flame and distribute it among the younger disciples. Over the next few years, if anyone succeeds in summoning a pill flame, have them come find me at Mixi Peak. Li Xuanyuan acknowledged the order. Only then did Li Tongya take up the sheathed Qingqi sword. He lowered his eyes to study it, wrapped his left hand around the hilt, and gently exerted force. Clang! A soft white radiance poured out. Blue-white sword light washed through the courtyard like rippling water. Hazy waves of light swept across the grounds, while the ordinary sword at Li Tongya's waist trembled and rang. Chijing? Li Tongya finally understood how to draw this blade. As long as he opened with the moon-toed sword arc, the spirit sword would leave its sheath. Xiao Yuansi had been beside him before, so he had not forced it. Now he drew it fully and looked at the two seal characters engraved upon the blade. You've been wronged, being kept hidden for so long. The Qingqi spirit sword hummed in his hand, cold light radiating in every direction. On the sword tassel, a line of seal script appeared. Zhupo. Qingqi. Li Tongya pressed his lips together, returned the blade to its sheath, and rode the wind toward Mixi Peak. After settling the family affairs, Li Xuanyuan carried the pills to Mixi Peak and entered seclusion. Household matters were left to Li Xuanling and Li Yuanxiu. Li Qinghong and Li Yuanzhao remained at the school to study the guidance art, using moonlight essence to condense the profound sensory chakra. On Lijing Peak, knock knock, Li Yuanshu entered the courtyard with a smile. Li Yuanzhao had just finished cultivating and was practicing sword forms in the courtyard. Seeing him, he hurried forward and greeted him respectfully. Elder brother, come here, Yuanzhao. Li Yuanshu rubbed his head and pressed a jade bottle into his hand. These are pills your fourth granduncle sent back. Keep them. When you reach the point of breakthrough, take them immediately. Li Tongya and Li Xuanyuan had kept the truth secret, telling the younger generation that everything Xiao Yuansi had brought back had actually come from Li Chijing. Li Yuanxiu and the others knew nothing of the real circumstances, and naturally accepted the gifts with delight. By now, Li Yuanzhao had already received a talisman seed. With the aid of moonlight, he quickly broke through to the profound sensory chakra, learned the family's hidden secrets, swore a profound sensory spirit oath, and remained on the mountain cultivating. Seeing Li Yuanzhao obediently accept the bottle, Li Yuanxiu dusted off his hands. Before entering seclusion, Li Xuanyuan had asked him to personally deliver several portions of medicine. Having completed another delivery, Li Yuanxiu felt considerably more relaxed. Snake origin pills are precious after all. Better to deliver them myself. If I send strangers, something ugly could happen and create unnecessary trouble. The corner of Li Yuanshu's mouth lifted slightly. The family's branch cultivators and cultivators of other surnames were generally obedient. Nothing truly unpleasant had happened yet. Even so, Li Yuanshu did not fully trust others with important matters and preferred to handle them personally. Clan steward. Li Yuanshu was still thinking when Li Pingyi hurried into the courtyard with several town administrators behind him. They all kept their heads lowered, not daring to speak. Li Yuanshu was currently handling clan affairs from the main compound, so Li Pingyi addressed him by his governing title rather than as young clan leader. Who caused trouble? The moment Li Yuanshu heard the formal title and saw the town administrators behind him, he knew some clan disciples had caused an incident. He asked in a low voice, thinking bitterly, I was just praising the family disciples and now something happens. How ridiculous. Li Pingyi did not dare delay. His expression was equally unpleasant. Clan Uncle Chuyang returned from the mines. He has already broken through the Jade Capital Chakra and gained spiritual sense. When he passed through town, he casually swept the area and discovered several clan disciples inside a courtyard. In that courtyard, what were they doing? Li Yuanshu's voice sank. Li Pingyi gritted his teeth. They were gambling on dogfights. There were also half-naked women, obscene behavior, men embracing women on both sides. I'm afraid there was more. What audacity! Li Yuanzhao's face darkened immediately. Li Yuanshu's expression changed several times as shame burned through him. Indeed, quite audacious. Who were they? Have all of them been seized? He walked out of the courtyard as he asked. Li Pingyi replied, "We captured them all, excluding those of other surnames. There were 6 with the Li surname. 5 are descendants from collateral lines of the old ancestors. The last is my paternal uncle." Li Pingyi was deeply ashamed as he said it. The old ancestor naturally referred to Li Mutian. Li Pingyi's paternal uncle was a brother of Li Xiaowen, one of Li Yesheng's spoiled sons. When Li Yesheng had still been alive, someone had kept them in check. After his death, they restrained themselves for a few years. But Li Xiaowen was constantly occupied with official affairs. Eventually, they began making trouble. "Ha! Elder brother, I'm coming too," Li Yuanzhao muttered and followed Li Yuanshu down the mountain. As they walked, Li Yuanshu leaned toward Li Pingyi and whispered several instructions into his ear. Only after Li Pingyi acknowledged them did he allow the group to lead the way to the courtyard. A crowd had already gathered outside. Clan soldiers surrounded the small compound. Li Xiaowen stood before the gate with an ugly expression. Seeing Li Yuanshu, he clasped his hands. "Greetings, young clan head. Uncle Xiwen, there is no need for ceremony." Li Yuanshu answered and entered the courtyard with him. The place was a mess. Fruit, scraps, and shattered objects lay everywhere. More than a dozen bare-chested men had been pressed face down onto the ground. His clan uncle Li Chijing stood to one side with his arms folded. "Greetings, clan uncle. Young clan head." Li Chijing's hair was already streaked with white. He returned the salute, then withdrew into a corner and said nothing more. Li Yuanshu swept his gaze around. Everyone wore a different expression. Li Xiwen looked ashamed. Li Chijing remained calm. The townsfolk were angry yet frightened. Packed together in a dark crowd, every eye fixed on Li Yuanshu. Several of his older brothers were also among them, lowering their heads as they watched him like silent wolves. Li Yuanzhao stood beside him and coldly stared back. Li Yuanshu had gone up the mountain to cultivate when he was only 5 or 6, so he had spent little time with his older brothers. None of the 3 possessed spiritual apertures, but they had all read widely. Their ambitions and struggles had never centered on Li Yuanshu himself. They all knew Li Xuanyuan had only entrusted Yuanshu with managing family affairs temporarily. Yuanshu was a cultivator and would ultimately return to the mountain. Li Jing controlled 4 towns. Huashan controlled 3 more. More than a dozen villages were scattered between them. Some towns were rich enough to drip oil and frequently came into contact with cultivators. Others were so poor that years might pass without anyone squeezing out the slightest profit. The brothers guarded against one another, each eyeing the best positions among the 7 towns. Li Yuanshu withdrew his gaze and looked at the prisoners. Who organized this? Every eye shifted toward one man. He instantly dropped to his knees. He was a cultivator of another surname, already past 30 yet still only at the first layer of embryonic breathing, the profound sensory chakra. Li Yuanshu said nothing. His sword flashed from its sheath like lightning. Dark gray profound water sword light erupted, and with a single stroke the man's head separated from his body. The head rolled across the ground. His throat still buzzed as he muttered, "Young clan head, spare me!" The crowd cried out and stumbled half a step backward. Li Yuanshu leaned aside, avoiding the spray of blood. Everyone froze like statues before erupting into terrified screams. While they were still crying out, Li Pingyi had already led men carrying a pot of boiling oil. The clan soldiers exchanged glances, pinned the struggling prisoners down, and dragged their hands forward. "Gambling is forbidden. The punishment is the loss of the hands." Li Yuanshu's voice was icy. At his signal, Li Pingyi's men poured the oil over the gamblers' hands. Blisters and blood rose immediately as the men screamed for their fathers and mothers. Only then did Li Yuanshu say, "Drag them forward, continue." Li Chijing, who had remained silent in the corner, finally lifted his head. He crooked one finger. Several large men were pulled forward as though seized by invisible ropes. Even the clan soldiers could not hold them back, and they staggered several steps ahead. Li Yuanshu naturally knew Li Chijing had acted. Pour again. The faint smell of roasted flesh spread through the courtyard. The men could no longer save their hands. Li Yuanshu turned to the crowd. The clan administration governs according to the rules established by the old ancestor. Gambling is forbidden. Adultery and debauchery are forbidden. Whether you belong to the direct main line or the smallest branch family, neither may be touched. Do not think that because you live below the mountain, no one can control you, and do not imagine you may corrupt the Li family's customs. Silence fell. Li Yuanshu glanced at his brothers who lacked spiritual apertures. All of them lowered their heads, no longer meeting his eyes. Only then did he say quietly, "Bring healers to treat them." He led his people out of the courtyard. The crowd split to either side, shrinking back with lowered heads, none daring to look at him. Li Pingyi felt secretly exhilarated. He stepped forward. "Young clan head, This should finally silence those clan elders and uncles who keep saying you are not decisive enough. Pay them no mind. Li Yuanshu shook his head as they walked along the street beneath the dark night. They only want to transfer control of the 7 towns from the main household and Uncle Ziwen into the hands of their own descendants. They say whatever supports that goal. After tonight, they will simply change their tune and say I am too ruthless and therefore unfit to lead the clan. A struggle for power is nothing but a muddy pool. You throw a bucket of filth on me, I throw one on you. In the end, whoever wins gets to decide what was right. Li Yuanshu spoke casually, then rubbed Li Yuanzhao's head beside him and grew serious. Our enemies have never been people within our own family. They are the Yu clan, the An clan, and all the surrounding families watching us. Li Yuanzhao nodded as he walked beside him. After several breaths of thought, he said in a hard voice, Elder brother, I'm afraid they'll hold a grudge against you. Why not send someone to kill them all? They are relatives, after all. Li Yuanshu shook his head. Our family has never had a large population. What can a few mortals with ruined reputations really do? The main compound naturally has people watching them. There is no need. Li Yuanzhao reluctantly nodded. It's just that the way our older brothers looked at us was frightening. Them, Li Yuanshu sighed softly. Behind them, Li Pingyi tactfully fell half a step back and turned his eyes elsewhere, pretending not to hear. Li Yuanshu glanced at him and continued. They simply lack spiritual apertures. Not one of them is simple. We all share the same father. Since they cannot cultivate, it is inevitable that they feel some jealousy toward you and me. But they still understand right from wrong. With them around, people of other surnames will find it much harder to stir up trouble. This little brother understands. Li Yuanzhao nodded thoughtfully. The 2 brothers climbed the mountain together. Looking down at the darkness beneath them, they smiled. Li Yuanzhao's black robes fluttered through the night, contrasting sharply with Li Yuanshu's white cloak. From childhood, Yuanzhao had felt little warmth from his father, but from this elder brother he had received a deep affection. He grinned. Elder brother, you're much better than father? Behind them, Li Pingyi wanted desperately to cover both ears. Li Yuanshu rapped Li Yuanzhao hard on the head and said sternly, What nonsense are you saying? Of all our elders, father has worked the hardest. His entire life has been spent worrying over family affairs, and the clan has endless matters to manage. He has only handled them for 3 or 4 years, and his hair is already full of gray. It is inevitable that he cannot attend to everything. You must understand him. Li Yuanzhao answered with a smile. He tugged at the corner of his brother's robe. Elder brother, one day our Li family will defeat the Yu clan and An clan under your leadership. If we brothers work with one heart, we'll be far stronger than Yu Mugao and Yu Muxian. Li Yuanshu laughed heartily and rubbed his head. His eyes were also filled with smiles and anticipation. The 2 brothers looked up at the moon together and said nothing more. Eastern Xuanyuan. Mu Xiaoman lay upon his bed. Scalding breath surged through his mouth. His heart cramped with agony, leaving his mouth bitter and his tongue dry. He could barely speak. Great king! Great king! His wives and concubines wailed around him, their endless crying drilling into his skull. He gritted his teeth and used every trace of strength he had to roar. Shut up! Yet the sound came out no louder than a weak grunt. No one noticed, they simply kept crying. Darkness gathered in Mu Xiaoman's heart. Eastern Xuanyuan under his rule could hardly be called wealthy or powerful, but it was far better than the chaos of previous years. Its territory had steadily expanded, and Xuanyuan villages occasionally came to submit. Mu Xiaoman knew Li Tongya was cautious. He had deliberately maintained the appearance that Eastern Xuanyuan was backed by Mount Wu, keeping Li Tongya from crossing the border. At the same time, Mu Xiaoman repeatedly compromised. He opened trade routes and allowed the Li clan to exchange strange luxuries for grain and materials held by Xuanyuan nobles. In effect, hundreds of thousands of Xuanyuan laborers were supporting the 100,000 people living under the Li clan. That compromise had purchased Eastern Xuanyuan a thin path to survival. Then, just as everything was beginning to prosper, a demonic wolf stormed into one of his towns. The strange beast was at the 6th layer of Qi refining and appeared beneath his city without warning. Mu Xiaoman had no choice but to fight. The past years, Eastern Xuanyuan had managed to produce 2 or 3 Qi refining cultivators. They had all absorbed impure Qi and were nowhere near equal to orthodox cultivators, but they still counted as fighting strength. Unfortunately, they were stationed on the Western Front and could not return quickly enough. Mu Xiaoman intended only to hold out until reinforcements arrived. Instead, the demonic beast displayed several innate spells and drove him back again and again. With no other choice, he sacrificed his own blood essence and used ancient shamanic arts to call upon Mount Wu. Why? Is there no response? Mu Xiaoman's mind went blank. His heart sank into utter stillness. The instincts sharpened through years of struggle told him something terrible. Something has happened to Mount Wu. That demonic beast was definitely a stone thrown by some cultivator to test the waters. Mu Xiaoman burned away the last of his lifespan through shamanic arts, and finally forced the demonic beast to retreat. He returned to his lavish jade bed knowing his own death had arrived. Move aside. The wailing wives and concubines were suddenly interrupted by a roar. A broad Xuanyuan man covered in tattoos rushed into the palace, worry written across his face. Animal bones and jade ornaments clattered all over his body. Mu Xiaoman gathered a trace of clarity. This old servant came too late. The man began to weep. Mu Xiaoman instantly forced himself awake, seized his hand and muttered, "Recall the princes of the Yimu line. As for the other descendants, kill them all. Do not leave a single one alive." "Yes, remember this." Tears streamed down Mu Xiaoman's face as he gritted his teeth. "You must show no mercy to the rest of my children. Do not let the Li clan control them. We Xuanyuan have endured in silence because we have not yet struck, not because we have submitted to them. Do you understand? Do you understand me?" The broad man raised his head, his own tears not yet fallen. Mu Xiaoman's grip suddenly went slack. He collapsed onto the jade bed with a dull thump. His breath was already gone. The Xuanyuan warrior wiped his eyes and said mournfully, "Great king, this servant sees the great king off." Bells rang through the city. Xuanyuan soldiers rushed through the streets as shouts of killing and screams rose everywhere. Descendants who had once stood high above others were dragged out one after another and cleanly beheaded. A dark gray ox cart had already left the city. After rattling along the uneven Guli road for some distance, several figures leaped from it and plunged into the eastern forest. So the old bastard really did favor Mukimu. Good thing we had eyes and ears inside the palace, or he would have butchered us like pigs and dogs. "My lord, what do we do now?" The people behind him were clearly guards and advisors. One of them asked, and the man in front replied, "I heard my aunt in the east was also married into the Li family. Our only choice now is to flee east and seek shelter with her." They checked the stars for direction, plunged into the bottomless forest, and vanished. Li Tongya sat inside his cave residence reading the Moon Cicada Sword Canon, silently tracing movements with his fingers. Every so often he could not help praising it aloud. Brilliant, truly brilliant beyond words. Back when Li Chijing had returned home and written down the Moon Cicada Sword arc, Li Tongya had only just stepped onto the path of the sword. At the time, he had never understood what was so profound about his younger brother's technique. Only later, after his own swordsmanship advanced, and Chijing personally explained the Moon Cicada Sword arc to him as a foundation, did Li Tongya begin improving by leaps and bounds. His own talent with the sword was not poor. Before long he comprehended sword chi, and only then did he finally understand just how deep his younger brother's attainments had been. The Moon Cicada Sword Canon explained both fundamentals and profundities with extraordinary precision. Over the past few months, Li Tongya's swordsmanship had advanced dramatically. Many old doubts that had once seemed impossible to resolve suddenly became clear. Judging by his current progress, he might have a chance to comprehend the next realm sword essence within 10 years. The Moon Cicada Sword arc was only one opening form in the canon. Beyond it were dozens of intricate combinations, follow-up moves, and transformations. Li Tongya studied until his eyes blurred, praising it endlessly while still moving his fingers through the forms. Then a light chime sounded from the stone door. "Who is it?" Li Tongya raised his head. His son Li Xuanling's respectful voice came from outside. "Father, someone from the Xiao clan has arrived. He is a Qi refining cultivator. I'm afraid we should receive him properly." "I understand." Li Tongya thought for several breaths, then rose and left the cave. Li Xuanling was waiting outside. Seeing him emerge, he lowered his head and breathed a quiet sigh of relief. He had been placed in a difficult position. The difference in status between Qi refining and embryonic breathing was considerable, and the Xiao clan had shown the Li family kindness. If they did not send a Qi's refining cultivator to receive their guest, it might look contemptuous and improper. Li Xuanfeng had already entered deep seclusion. Li Xuanyuan was at the critical stage of breaking through to Qi refining and could not be disturbed. Although Chen Donghe was a Qi refining cultivator, he was not someone who could make decisions for the family. Looking around, Li Tongya was the only suitable person who was not currently in seclusion. Li Tongya put away the Moon Cicada Sword Canon and followed Li Xuanling to the main courtyard on Mount Lijing. There, a young man of around 25 or 26 looked up at him. He wore flowing robes and carried an elegant, otherworldly air. His features were outstanding. The moment he recognized Li Tongya, he was visibly startled. He hurried to his feet and cupped his hands. "This junior is Xiao Ruyu of the Xiao clan." "Greetings, senior." Xiao Ruyu had expected Li Xuanfeng to come meet him at most. He had never imagined the Li family would value his visit enough for Li Tongya to receive him personally. For a moment he felt both pleasantly surprised and nervous. Li Tongya is of the same generation as clan uncle Xiao Yongling and one of the most outstanding cultivators of his generation along Guli Road. After thinking for a breath, Xiao Ruyu smiled. I have heard clan uncle praise senior more than once. Ruyu has admired senior for a long time. Today I finally have the honor of meeting you. Li Tongya smiled gently. The young man knew how to advance and retreat with proper measure, and carried himself with uncommon bearing. Li Tongya immediately formed a favorable impression. I have also heard Xuanfeng mention you. You were willing to accompany him into dangerous territory. That alone shows considerable courage. Senior praises me too highly. After several polite exchanges, Xiao Ruyu did not dare waste time. He said respectfully, Ruyu has come for two important matters. First, 9 out of every 10 households in the county were destroyed. We need to relocate people from elsewhere. Among the clans, the Li family has the largest population. The Xiao clan is willing to offer appropriate compensation. How could we accept payment for that? Li Tongya smiled warmly. Our Li family can provide your clan with roughly 1,000 laborers each year. There is no need for the Xiao clan to pay us anything. Given the friendship between our families, why stand on ceremony? The Li family lacked many things now. Population was not one of them. Every year, large numbers of desperate Xuanyuan refugees created headaches for the family. Settling too many in one place risked conflict and might allow Xuanyuan customs to influence Li lands. Sending them away, however, felt wasteful. They were, after all, a vast source of labor. It had been more than 7 years since the Li clan took control of Huaxian Mountain. The population there had risen from roughly 5,000 to 20,000. Combined with nearly 100,000 people already living in Li territory, the clan now governed a population approaching half that of an ordinary county. If hundreds of thousands of Xuanyuan in the west were not supplying grain and resources, even the Li clan would have struggled to support so many mouths. Senior is generous. Xiao Ruyu clasped his hands. Still, he did not want to owe Li Tongya a favor merely over several thousand mortals. He shifted the topic slightly and said respectfully, Before I left home, my elders specifically reminded me that the closer two families are, the more clearly such minor accounts must be separated. Only then can resentment be avoided. I have kept those words in mind and do not dare take advantage of your clan. Li Tongya saw how cleanly he handled the matter and thought even more highly of him. Then what do you propose? For every 1,000 mortals delivered to Xianxia County, the Xiao clan will provide 1 spirit stone. The price Xiao Ruyu offered was quite generous. After all, the King Qi sect itself had acted with malicious intent, and the surrounding families generally watched the upper sect's attitude before deciding what mattered. Without someone enforcing rules, ordinary mortals had never been regarded as an important resource by most cultivators. A few who practiced unusual methods might value them, but most barely looked at them at all. Then we'll settle it that way. Li Tongya agreed. Xiao Ruyu nodded, then continued. There is a second matter. Guli Road has been neglected for many years. There are no proper strongpoints in the mountains and forests. Demonic beasts roam freely, and travel is extremely difficult. At present, only Qi refining cultivators can safely travel between the counties. It is terribly inconvenient. The Xiao clan intends to rebuild Guli Road and establish relay stations between the various clans. Any gaps in funding or manpower will be covered by us. That way, embryonic breathing cultivators and mortal merchants alike will be able to move between the counties, and every family along Guli Road will benefit. Oh? Li Tongya had not expected the Xiao clan to undertake such a costly project with so little obvious return. After a pause, he said, If the Xiao clan is willing to lead such a project, it will greatly benefit my Li family. Naturally, we have no reason to refuse. But forgive me for asking one more question. Why does your clan wish to do this? Li Tongya was not normally one to pry into other people's affairs. Yet the two families had enjoyed friendly relations for years. Xiao Yuansi and Xiao Chuting had both shown the Li clan great kindness. That was why he asked. Thank you for your concern, Senior. On his journey along Guli Road, Xiao Ruyu had visited many clans. Every one of them had happily agreed. He suspected quite a few had even mocked the Xiao clan in private for spending so much effort and wealth. Li Tongya alone had shown concern for the reason behind it. Xiao Ruyu shook his head gently and explained. The Xiao clan refines pills and artifacts, so we cooperate with many families. Nearly 30% of the mouths we feed are tied in one way or another to Xianxia County's trade. It is an important part of our clan's livelihood. If our sources of spirit herbs and spiritual ores are cut off, the situation would become very difficult. Our clan places great value on the spiritual resources produced along Guli Road. As for anything beyond that, I am not at liberty to reveal it. I hope Senior will forgive me. Li Tongya listened. Combined with the fact that Xiao Chuting had silently advanced to the Purple Mansion realm without anyone noticing, a certain suspicion formed in his heart. He was secretly alarmed. If it is inconvenient, then say no more. Xiao Ruyu nodded. The two discussed the placement of relay stations and settled several locations. Only then did Xiao Ruyu rise, clasp his hands, and take his leave. Li Xuanling escorted him out of the courtyard and watched him ride the eastern wind away. When he returned, Li Tongya was still sitting above with one hand resting on his tea bowl in silence. After waiting for a while, Li Xuanling finally asked, "Father, the Xiao clan trades year-round with Junlin Plain and the families of Linghai County. Could they be afraid that someone will cut off eastern trade? Who has enough influence to make all those clans stop dealing with the Xiao family?" Li Tongya set down his tea bowl and shook his head. "I'm afraid the Xiao clan intends to break away from the Qingqi sect and establish itself independently." "What?" Li Xuanling froze. Then his face changed dramatically. "But, the Qingqi sect currently has 3 early Purple Mansion cultivators, 1 mid-stage Purple Mansion cultivator, and Qi Wei at the peak of Purple Mansion. How would the Xiao clan dare? They are waiting for Qi Wei to die." Li Tongya sorted through his thoughts. He was now 70 or 80% certain. His eyes narrowed. Xiao Chuting has already reached Purple Mansion. That gives him the right to sit at the board and play the game. Didn't the Chen clan establish itself independently the moment it produced a Purple Mansion ancestor in years past? Among the Purple Mansion cultivators of the Qingqi sect, only Qi Wei has the strength to kill Xiao Chuting. Once Qi Wei dies, the Xiao clan can naturally leave the Qingqi sect and occupy the shattered Lixia County. With Junlin Plain and Wangyu Lake behind them, the Qingqi sect might even have to send congratulatory gifts. Purple Mansion. Li Xuanling muttered the words and sighed deeply. All the clans, and even the 3 sects and 7 gates, are merely pieces in the hands of Purple Mansion cultivators. Exactly. But once the Xiao clan leaves the Qingqi sect, which families in the surrounding counties would still dare cross the border to trade with them, the Xiao clan will need new sources of goods and new markets. That is why they want to expand westward, repair Guli Road, and focus on scattered regions without major county cities, places like Junlin Plain and the families around Wangyua Lake. The more Li Tongya spoke, the more confident he became in his judgment. He thought silently. The question is how my Li family can preserve itself through such upheaval and still seize benefits. If trouble can be redirected eastward, the Yu clan's present dominance over Wangyu Lake may become useful. Li Yuanzhao stood in the courtyard with a sword in hand. Across from him was a girl with her hair tied up. Her almond-shaped eyes stared fixedly at the blade in his hand. The two faced one another for a while. Li Yuanzhao saw her thrust lightly with her spear, clearly favoring an agile style. He flicked aside the shaft with his wooden practice sword and stepped close. The girl swept her flexible wooden spear sideways, retreating several steps. With her left hand, she blocked Li Yuanzhao's wooden sword and smiled with a frown. "Brother Zhao, you're so crafty." Li Yuanzhao snorted softly and withdrew his sword. "What do you mean crafty? Your spearwork is actually fairly solid, Qinghong. You can withstand several of my moves." Li Qinghong giggled. She knew she had in fact fallen into a disadvantage earlier, so she could only complain in an aggrieved tone. "Our family has an inherited sword tradition, so, of course, swordsmanship is easy for you to learn. I found the best spear instructor below the mountain, but learning from him has been twice the effort for half the result. Our family has sword arts to inherit, so I insist on practicing the spear. Spear techniques are easy to begin and difficult to master. Without a true expert to guide you, you might never properly enter the path even after a lifetime." Li Yuanzhao curled his lip. Li Qinghong planted the long spear into the ground and answered innocently. "Looking at sword manuals gives me a headache. Father brought out all kinds of weapons and let me choose. People say an extra inch of reach is an extra inch of strength, so I chose the spear. Who knew Father would be delighted? He told me it suited me, so I just kept practicing." Since Li Xuanling had already decided the matter, Li Yuanzhao abandoned the idea of changing her weapon. He hung his wooden sword on the wall and straightened his robes. Li Qinghong leaned her spear into a corner and brushed back her hair. Her face was slightly flushed from the intense exercise, giving her a lively beauty. 2 knocks sounded from the courtyard gate. A respectful voice called from outside. "Young master, madam asks you to come over." "I know," Li Yuanzhao answered. He saw an old servant bowing outside the courtyard, a man who attended his mother, and lowered his voice. "What happened?" "Young master, people have arrived from eastern Xuanyuan. They say Mu Xiaoman was gravely wounded and could not be saved. He passed away the night before last." Li Yuanzhao's eyes immediately brightened. He had never met this maternal uncle and felt little personal emotion toward him. What he did feel was a sudden stirring of excitement. Then he heard Li Qinghong laugh from the side and turned toward her. "What is it?" Li Qinghong did not know the details, but some natural instinct, or perhaps an unusually keen sense for shifts in the political situation, told her something. She pressed her lips together and smiled. "I don't know why. I just feel like it's good news." Li Yuanzhao strode quickly out of the courtyard, excitement rising in his chest. The 9 towns and 26 tribes of eastern Shanyu will soon belong to our family. Wumali fled through the forest with several loyal followers for days and nights without daring to look back. They did not even dare light a cooking fire. When hungry, they ate wild fruit. When thirsty, they drank from streams. At last, they escaped the territory of eastern Xianyue. The east was prosperous beyond anything they had imagined. Streams of people moved between flourishing towns. The sight alone left the group dumbfounded. They disguised themselves as Shanyu refugees and were stopped by guards. From a distance, they watched the crowds moving back and forth, people wearing cloud caps while lines of carts and horses rolled west with a constant rumbling sound. These Easterners, they live like immortals. Wumali stared blankly. Only now did he understand why slaves fled eastward like madmen whenever they had the chance. They were held under watch for several hours. At last, Wumali spotted a richly dressed Shanyu man approaching from a distance. His eyes lit up. The man had once been a clan retainer of the Mulu tribe. Everyone had assumed he died outside years ago. Apparently, he had escaped east and was living well. Wumali immediately shouted at him in the Shanyu tongue. "You bastard over there! Look this way!" The man turned angrily at the insult. Then he saw Wumali and went wild with joy. "Quick, seize that man! He is of the royal bloodline of Eastern Shanyue." Wumali and his followers were instantly knocked to the ground. Wumali himself was at the 3rd layer of embryonic breathing, yet he shrank back and did not dare resist. He was grabbed, dragged all the way through town, and finally thrown with a thump into a courtyard paved with blue bricks. He knelt on the cold, smooth stone and timidly raised his head. Before him sat a youth who looked 14 or 15 years old. He had straight sword-like brows, dark gray eyes, and handsome, clean-cut features. Even while sitting still, he radiated pressure. "Greetings, great king!" Wumali's thoughts raced. He assumed this must be Li Xuanyuan. Such a youthful face surely meant he had reached tea refining early enough to retain his young appearance. By seniority, he should even be Wumali's uncle by marriage. "You flatter me, young master." Li Yuanshu lowered his head with a faint smile. The corner of his mouth almost rose uncontrollably. He had never imagined that Eastern Shenyu's weakness would simply deliver itself to the Li family's doorstep. Inside, he wanted to laugh aloud. Outwardly, he restrained himself and studied the trembling Shenyu prince. "I am Li Yuanshu, eldest son of the family head. You and I belong to the same generation." Only then did Wumali understand that the person before him was the heir of the Easterners' ruling house. He put on a flattering smile and was about to speak when another figure hurried through the doorway. The newcomer resembled Li Yuanshu somewhat, but his brows were shorter and his eyes narrower and longer. At a glance, he had the sharp look of a young wolf. The youth glanced at Wumali. Wumali immediately lowered his head in fear. "I heard cousin had come to visit. Yuanzhao is delighted." Wumali's heart immediately relaxed. He instinctively felt this young man would be his support among the Easterners. "So you are Brother Zhao?" "Brother Zhao. I have long heard of you as well. I never expected you to be so handsome." Li Yuanzhao curled his lip and stood beside Li Yuanxiu, staring down at the Shanyue group like a tiger watching prey. Wumali's followers knew Yuanzhao carried Mulu blood. They hoped he might therefore be gentler toward the Shanyue and looked at him pleadingly. "We heard something happened to your father. Would you be willing to explain the matter and clear up our doubts?" Li Yuanshu held his tea and asked at an unhurried pace. Wumali trembled below. "Yes, yes!" He quickly explained everything surrounding Mu Xiaoman's death from beginning to end. The telling took roughly the time of an incense stick. Only then did the people around them understand the situation and begin whispering among themselves. Li Yuanzhao waved a hand. His expression shifted slightly. He had not expected Wumali to be this stupid, he thought irritably. "I deliberately gathered everyone here so he could recount what happened. I never expected this idiot to tell the exact truth. He doesn't even know to smear a little dirt on his elder brother and give the Li family a proper excuse to intervene. What a waste of my goodwill." Li Yuanshu looked at the gathered uncles, elders, and brothers and said gently, "Yuanzhao and I will speak with him privately. Elders, please withdraw for now." Several clan elders frowned and seemed ready to object. Li Yuanzhao snorted, stepped forward, and stared at them. The men reluctantly backed down. Once those elders supporting them left, the rest of the crowd withdrew like a receding tide. Only the clan soldiers, the 2 Li brothers, and Li Chuyang remained in the courtyard. Li Chuyang stood beside Wumali with his hands clasped, prepared in case the prince suddenly attacked someone. Li Yuanshu immediately walked down, took Wumali's hand with great warmth, and smiled. "Brother Wumali, with so many elders present earlier, Yuanshu could not speak freely. You and I are relatives by marriage. Why should we be so formal with one another?" Wumali froze. He had never expected Li Yuanshu to be so approachable. He stammered, not daring to answer. Then he heard Yuanshu continue. that Prince Yimu took the throne while the late king was gravely wounded, then openly massacred the other princes in violation of the late king's final wishes. Such conduct is inhuman. The Li family has long promised to protect Eastern Shanyu. How could we possibly sit by and ignore this? Young master, please be at ease. Wu Mali and his followers were stunned stupid. Their minds went blank. Had he failed to explain clearly? His father had plainly passed the throne to Yimu and personally ordered the other sons to be killed. How had the story completely changed after passing through Li Yuanshu's mouth? Wu Fili stared at the smile on Yuanshu's face. Then a flash of understanding crossed his mind. His body trembled. Desire surged from somewhere deep inside him. He had already given up all hope of the throne. Now his heart suddenly began pounding again with equal parts joy and fear. Yes, yes! Yimu took advantage of the late king's grave injuries to murder his sovereign and seize the throne. Then he defied the late king's wishes and openly slaughtered the other princes. At last, Li Yuanshu had managed to turn this wooden head in the proper direction. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Your father was also Brother Zhao's maternal uncle. This insult has therefore fallen upon the Li family as well. For now, you should remain below the mountain and experience the scenery and customs of the East. Things here are somewhat different from Xuanyuan. I will go up the mountain and report this to the elders, then return to speak with you. Wu Mali's imagination ran wild. His blood heated as visions filled his mind, returning to Xuanyuan, killing his enemies, taking back the throne. He answered with a distracted grunt, then suddenly came back to himself and cried excitedly. The great kindness of your noble clan. Wu Mali has no way to repay it. I am willing to guard the western lands for the Li family and continue paying tribute every year. Li Yuanshu waved a hand, speechless inside. This man truly did not know how to speak. Guard the West and pay tribute every year? How is that any different from what Eastern Shanyu already does? What a blockhead! He gave a slight nod and left the courtyard for the mountain. Li Yuanzhao and Wu Mali remained behind, staring at each other. Wu Mali was still lost in fantasies when Li Yuanzhao glanced at him, patted his relative on the shoulder, and whispered into his ear. The East is famous for beautiful dancers and singers. Cousin, would you like to go see them? Ah, yes. Wu Mali left the courtyard in a daze. Li Yuanzhao turned and clasped his hands toward Li Chijing. I'll trouble clan uncle with the rest. Carefully choose several singers and dancers. We must make certain Wu Mali leaves a few children behind. Later, have those children remain in town to study. Only then can we truly say we hold Eastern Shanyu in our hands. I understand. Li Chijing nodded. He showed no disrespect whatsoever merely because Li Yuanzhao was young, and answered with a formal salute. Li Yuanshu crossed the blue stone paving. The great compound was quiet. Most of the senior family members had entered seclusion. Only Li Xuanling sat in the garden holding a tea bowl in one hand and studying a white jade slip with the other. Seeing Li Yuanshu enter with undisguised delight, he asked softly, "What good news has made you so happy?" Eastern Shanyu was attacked by a demonic beast. Mu Xiaoman died suddenly. One of his sons, Wu Mali, has come to seek refuge with our family and is now waiting below the mountain. Li Yuanshu summarized the matter in a few crisp sentences. Li Xuanling hurriedly set down his tea bowl and stored away the jade slip in his left hand. He smiled and nodded. That really is good news. Then he saw the light in Yuanshu's eyes and his hesitance to speak. Li Xuanling asked, "Looking at you, I assume you already have a plan?" "Yes." Li Yuanshu clasped his hands. Clearly, he had worked through the plan on his way here. Since Wu Mali has fallen into our hands, naturally we should support him as ruler of Eastern Shanyu. But in this nephew's view, there are too many strange things surrounding Eastern Shanyu. Though we hold Wu Mali, we cannot disregard Mount Wu. We should watch the situation first, gather intelligence, and only then discuss supporting him openly. That is correct. Li Xuanling nodded solemnly. What is Wu Mali himself like? This nephew has met him. He appears completely ignorant of schemes and power, almost unbearably foolish. But we should guard against the possibility that he is merely pretending for our benefit. For now, we should keep him here, provide beautiful women and singers, test him several times, and preferably arrange for him to leave several children in our territory. Oh? Li Xuanling thought for several breaths, then suddenly asked. He has not reached Qi refining yet, correct? Not yet. Li Yuanshu glanced up at Li Xuanling. Clearly the two had reached the same thought. He smiled. Our family still possesses the Purple Thunder secret origin art. Once he has remained in our territory long enough, we can have him swear a profound Senary spirit oath, conceal the technique's side effects and grant it to him. He may even become deeply grateful. Later, when he returns to Eastern Shanyu, no matter how much ambition he develops with age, he will still have no descendants at his side. He will need the Li family to send his own children back to Xuanyuan. Then everything will remain in our hands. Li Xuanling nodded approvingly. He understood exactly what Yuanshu meant. We do not even need to refine a complete portion of profound Yin Thunder essence. 1 or 2 tenths will be enough. Fill the remainder with impure qi and let him use that to break through. The Purple Thunder secret origin art may be powerful, but if he refines impure qi, how strong can he truly become? After reaching qi refining, he will still be ordinary. We cannot allow a situation where he receives a third-grade cultivation method, becomes overwhelmingly powerful, and escapes our control. Li Yuanshu nodded vigorously. He and Li Xuanling looked at one another. In only a few sentences, the two had already shaped a detailed scheme. Li Xuanling laughed, then became serious. That said, I still need to discuss this with father so he is aware. The old man knows many secrets. We can also ask him about Mount Wu. Li Yuanshu clasped his hands. Then this nephew will handle the arrangements below first. Wu Mali seems especially close to Brother Zhao, so we will need Yuan Zhao to appear before him more often. Go ahead and do it, Li Xuanling answered. After several breaths of thought, he patted the storage pouch at his waist and took out several jade boxes. These contain embryonic breathing-grade spirit fruits. Most were gifts from other clans over the years. Their main effect is simply to increase cultivation. Our family does not have enough pill formulas to process all of them properly. Consuming them carelessly may damage the foundation and make later cultivation more difficult. That is why I have kept them stored away. Their spiritual energy is nearly dispersed now, and soon they will become ordinary fruit. Take them, find a proper opportunity to give them to Wu Mali and push his cultivation forward. We cannot let his cultivation fall too far behind ours. The sooner we stuff him into qi refining, the easier later matters will become. Yes. Li Yuanshu accepted the jade boxes respectfully. Fourth uncle has thought of everything. Yuanshu will handle it immediately. Li Xuanling watched him leave the courtyard. He went over the matter once more in his mind, then headed toward Mixi Mountain to find Li Tongya. Mu Xiaoman died suddenly. Li Tongya set down the jade slip. After hearing Li Xuanling explain everything surrounding the turmoil in eastern Shanyu, a question rose in his mind. Mu Xiaoman had his own method of contacting Mount Wu. In theory, even if he had to pay a price, he should have been able to summon a qi refining disciple from Mount Wu. How could a demonic beast kill him so easily? Li Tongya thought for several moments. Then he remembered what Xiao Yuansi had once said, that the Purple Mansion cultivator among the Shenyo had also reached the end of his lifespan. Judging from the history of Xuanyuan occupation in this region, that Purple Mansion cultivator was probably the oldest of all the current Purple Mansion experts. He was said to be approaching 600 years of age and had extended his life through secret techniques more than once. I'm afraid the one on Mount Wu has already begun preparing to break through to Golden Core. The Xiao clan is also at a critical point right now. I should send them a letter informing them. At the same time, I can ask about the exact situation and determine how much control Mount Wu still exerts over the Xuanyuan. Go call Dong. Li Xuanling nodded and withdrew. Li Tongya picked up a jade slip from the stone table, thought for a moment, then set the blank jade slip back down. Instead, he took out a cheaper piece of spirit cloth, wrote a brief letter, sealed it, and returned to reading. Chen Dong had reached qi refining more than 4 years ago. He was now newly advanced to the second layer. He had refined genuine spiritual qi of heaven and earth to enter qi refining and practiced an orthodox method. His true essence was pure and bright. He arrived respectfully and bowed. Dong greets senior. Li Tongya waved a hand and passed him the letter. I'll trouble you to make a trip to the county and deliver this letter to Senior Xiao Yuansi of the Xiao clan. If he can reply immediately, bring the answer back with you. Yes. Chen Dong clasped his hands and withdrew. He rode the wind away from the cave residence. Li Tongya turned toward Li Xuanling, who was still standing beside him. You broke through the 6th layer of embryonic breathing. The spirit initiation chakra? Father, I broke through last month. Li Tongya swept him with spiritual sense and nodded. You are 25 this year. This pace is just right. There is no need to go faster. Accumulate for a few more years. If you can reach qi refining before 30, that will be enough. This son will remember. Li Xuanling answered. Then he explained the plan he and Li Yuanshu had developed. Li Tongya listened without revealing any emotion. When Xuanling finished, he said, Yuanshu is a child who knows how to think deeply. Eastern Shanyu sends enormous amounts of grain and materials east each year, including many spiritual resources. This concerns the food and clothing of more than 100,000 people under our Li family, not to mention incense offerings and next year's rituals. We cannot afford to lose it. If Mount Wu truly cannot even save itself, then we can be bolder and take another step toward controlling Eastern Shanyu. This son understands. But what if that Shanyu Purple Mansion cultivator actually succeeds in reaching Golden Core? Li Xuanling was cautious by nature and could not help asking. Li Tongya smiled. On the immortal path, the more stable one's foundation and the earlier one can break through, the better. Only those Purple Mansion cultivators who have reached the end of their lives, whose vitality is already scattering, are forced to attempt a breakthrough as a final gamble. That alone shows they have very little confidence. I have also read a fair number of histories. After the Great War between immortals and demons and the establishment of the state of Yue, there were still cultivators who reached Golden Core. But after the Moonlight Origin Manor withdrew from the world, and the 3 sexts and 7 gates entered worldly affairs, cultivation in Yu declined. Since then, not a single cultivator in the state of Yu has broken through to Golden Core, let alone a Xuanyuan cultivator. Wumali had remained in Eastern Territory for several months before he finally understood what true enjoyment meant. The graceful dancers wore veils, and just looking at them made his eyes feel as though they might fall from his head. Young dandies from the Li family's minor branches took him hunting, drinking, strolling through the streets, watching cockfights and dogfights. Every day felt like paradise. Damn it. Everyone in the West really is a fool. Only now did Wumali understand why the Easterners looked down on the Western Xuanyuan. The two worlds were completely different. Life in the East was comfortable and carefree. The only thing that gave Wumali headaches was speaking with these Easterners. Whenever he opened his mouth, 8 or 9 times out of 10, 1 or 2 people would immediately fall silent with displeased expressions. Somehow, without even knowing what he had done, he would offend someone. Eventually, he learned his lesson. Unless absolutely necessary, he simply did not speak. Smiling cheerfully was enough. "Your Highness!" Wumali came back to himself and looked at the man approaching. After thinking carefully, he remembered this person was a son born of a concubine in Li Yuanshu's household line. Wumali understood him to be a collateral member of the Easterner's royal family and hurriedly answered, "Greetings, brother!" The man stiffened slightly. By now he had grown used to Wumali speaking without thinking, so he did not take offense. He smiled. "Do you like this girl?" "I do! Of course I do!" Wumali immediately grinned. After several days among these people, he had discovered a pattern. If he said he liked a woman, 8 or 9 times out of 10 she would later be sent to his room. There is only one thing you may find inconvenient. Our rules are strict. Unlike in Xuanyuan, you cannot simply drag away whichever woman catches your eye. Only dancers and courtesans such as these. They were still speaking when a young man in black robes entered. Wumali immediately rose with delight. "Brother Zhao." Li Yuanzhao walked into the room and glanced around. Several idle young masters were drinking and indulging themselves with Wumali. Yuanzhao looked at them without bothering to speak. He saw that Wumali's face was flushed, set a jade box on the table and smiled. "I happened to obtain some spirit fruits and immediately thought of cousin, so I brought them to you." Wumali was overjoyed. He thought, "Sure enough, Li Yuanzhao is my greatest support in the Li family. He has brought me gifts several times these past months, and every one of them has been a fine spiritual item." He thanked Yuanzhao repeatedly and eagerly accepted the jade box. Even as he touched it, his mind was already calculating how many good things he could buy if he sold the spirit fruit. How could Li Yuanzhao not know what he was thinking? He knew almost everything Wumali said or did each day. His expression immediately turned serious. "Cousin, do you still remember your great cause of reclaiming the throne?" "Of course I remember." Wumali's face reddened slightly. He had spent the past several months enjoying himself so thoroughly that he had almost forgotten the sky and earth. When he first arrived, hints from Li Yuanshu had kept the throne in his thoughts. Recently, he had nearly thrown the matter entirely behind him. "Forgive Yuanzhao for speaking plainly. If cousin does not even possess Qi refining cultivation, then even if my family places you on the throne, you may not be able to sit there securely. You must be careful." Wumali froze. A chill ran through his body. He cursed himself fiercely, abandoned all thought of selling the spirit fruit, and gritted his teeth. "Thank you for the warning. Wumali is deeply grateful. Since coming east, I have already broken through to the 4th layer of embryonic breathing. From now on, I will enter seclusion and cultivate. I will reach Qi refining as soon as possible." Li Yuanzhao nodded and turned to leave. Wumali remained in the courtyard, staring longingly at the dancers in the corner. Everyone below looked up at him. After a moment, he coughed and looked solemnly in the direction Yuanzhao had gone. "Keep dancing. Tonight will be the last night. Tomorrow I begin cultivating." Li Chijing stood silently to one side with a saber in his arms. He had been assigned to protect Wumali and followed him day and night. By now, he had gained some understanding of the young man. Watching Wumali's face fill with pleasure, he sighed softly to himself. "The Mulu bloodline really is decent. This fellow is obviously a spoiled young master drowned in appetite and desire. Yet at barely 20 years old, he has already cultivated to the 4th layer of embryonic breathing. Life truly is unfair." Li Chijing touched the gray hair at his temples. Calculating the years, he realized he was already 45, and he had only just broken through to the 5th layer of embryonic breathing, the Jade Capital Chakra. A wave of sadness rose in his heart. My cultivation grows slower every year. Once a peak Qi refining cultivator passes 60, even their blood and vitality begin to decline. I do not even know whether I will reach Qi refining in this lifetime, ride Qi through the sky, and wander freely beneath heaven. I stepped onto the immortal path at 8 years old and treasured the opportunity more than anything. I cultivated day and night and never dared grow lazy. Other than missions required by the family, I have never willingly wasted time. And yet after 100 years, perhaps I will still end my life like an ordinary mortal. This young wastrel sings and drinks day and night, and Qi refining is already within his reach. Truly unfair. Li Chijing remained hidden in a dark corner. He seemed even older than before. A desire that was almost impossible to suppress rose within him. Uncle Tanya watched me grow up. By all reason, he should still hold a little affection for me as a junior. If I begged him for a pill, perhaps I might still have a chance to enter Qi refining in this lifetime. Thinking this, the corner of Li Chijing's mouth involuntarily curved into a smile. Then he forcefully cut off that impossible hope and cursed himself inwardly. The family now produces talented juniors one after another. Forget Yuanshu and Yuanzhao. Even Qinghong is advancing at astonishing speed. How could a precious pill be wasted on an old man like me? Li Chijing gritted his teeth and suppressed the impulse. He continued watching Wu Mali in silence. This middle-aged man had honestly and diligently given more than half his life to the clan, yet even now he could not bring himself to ask the family for a single precious pill. Senior, the Xiao clan accepted the letter. They asked me to bring back their reply and convey their thanks. Chen Donghe knocked on the cave door and entered respectfully, raising a jade slip in both hands. Li Tongya reached out and accepted it. His spiritual sense entered the slip, and Xiao Yuansi's warm voice sounded in his mind. Yuansi has received the letter. After learning the news from Brother Tanya, our old ancestor personally entered Xuanyuan territory. Mount Wu has been sealed and has no attention to spare for the outside world. The Xuanyuan Purple Mansion cultivator is preparing to attempt Golden Core. It should happen within 6 or 7 years. When it does, heaven and earth will certainly display unusual phenomena. Yuansi also learned some information while still in the sect. The 12 disciples of Mount Wu are all Foundation Establishment cultivators. They have already begun secretly forming connections with the 3 sects and 7 gates. Once that Purple Mansion cultivator dies, Mount Wu will immediately collapse. Each Foundation Establishment disciple will lead followers into one of the 3 sects or 7 gates. Perhaps 3 or 4 will remain in Xianxia territory, establish clans of their own, and become families governed by King Qi. If your clan has ambitions there, you should wait until that man dies and then seize the opportunity quickly. Once the situation realizes, the Xuanyuan Foundation Establishment cultivators divide the territory, and each establishes ties to a sect. Any later attempt to intervene will become extremely difficult. Li Tongya finished reading the jade slip and sat in thought for a while. A plan gradually formed. He put the slip away and said to Chen Donghe, "Call Xuanling up here." Li Xuanling had already been waiting outside the cave residence. He entered at once, while Chen Donghe tactfully withdrew. Li Tongya said quietly, "Read this jade slip." Li Xuanling accepted it and read. Afterward, he lowered his head in thought. Li Tongya spoke. Mount Wu will soon cease to exist. Several Foundation Establishment clans subordinate to King Qi will appear in the west. Our Li family can use the upheaval to seize eastern Xuanyuan. Li Xuanling nodded repeatedly. Then Li Tongya's voice became firm. Immediately push Wu Mali into Qi refining, while Mount Wu remains sealed. Disguise the conflict as ordinary Xuanyuan unrest and help him take the throne. Afterward, control eastern Xuanyuan from the shadows. When the Xuanyuan Purple Mansion cultivator dies, Wu Mali will immediately raise King Qi's banner and separate eastern Xuanyuan as territory belonging to our Li family. The newly unsupported Xuanyuan Foundation Establishment cultivators will not dare act rashly. This son understands. Li Xuanling answered respectfully. After several breaths of thought, he said, "Once those Foundation Establishment cultivators divide their lands and become clans under King Qi, they will understand the reputation of our sword immortal as well. They will be even lent to oppose us. Perhaps, like the Yu clan, they may even seek our favor. If we manage it properly, the Li family can take all of eastern Xuanyuan." Exactly, Li Tongya nodded. There are only several years left. Take one snake origin pill. No matter what it costs, make Wu Mali reach Qi refining. Forcing Wu Mali into Qi refining within 6 years would be difficult, but not impossible. Once the early layers were passed, they could simply climb one layer at a time. They did not care if his foundation became unstable. Spirit stones and spirit fruits could be stuffed into him, and absorbing impure Qi was much easier than refining proper spiritual Qi from heaven and earth. The only requirement was that his future cultivation remained slow enough that foundation establishment would be impossible for him. This son will handle it immediately. Li Xuanling turned to leave. Li Tongya suddenly stopped him. Who is guarding Wumali now? Father, it is brother Chuyang. Li Tongya calculated the years and said gravely, Li Chuyang is 45 now and has spent decades serving the clan. I heard he recently broke through the 5th layer of embryonic breathing, the Jade Capital Chakra. Wumali is an outsider. We are spending these spiritual resources on him because we intend to gain Eastern Shenyu. But we must not forget our own people. Quyang has spent all these years receiving nothing beyond his normal allotment of spirit rice and spirit stones. He has never asked the family for anything. If he sees what we are pouring into Wumali, I fear resentment may arise no matter how loyal he is. Call him up here. Li Xuanling quickly nodded and withdrew. Not long afterward, there was a knock at the stone door. Li Chuyang's respectful voice came from outside. This junior Li Chuyang greets clan uncle. Come in. Li Tongya set down the jade slip in his hands. His gaze fell on the gray hair at Chuyang's temples. He spoke warmly. In my memory, you are still the little boy standing on the spirit testing platform. I never imagined several decades would pass in the blink of an eye. Now you have children and grandchildren of your own, and have become one of the older men of the clan. I have seen how diligent you have been all these years. Li Chuyang lowered his head slightly. His eyes became moist. He answered with some unease. If not for the family, Quyang would only be an old farmer in the fields today. I am grateful for the clan's kindness and have never dared serve without putting my heart into it. Li Tongya nodded approvingly. He turned his hand over, revealing a small brocade pouch. You are already a cultivator of the Jade Capital Chakra, yet you do not even possess a storage pouch. This is one I used when I was young. It is not very large, but take it and use it for now. No, Li Chuyang panicked. A storage pouch was worth 10 or 20 spirit stones. It was absolutely beyond his means. He spent nearly all his normal stipend on cultivation and could barely find half a spirit stone on his person. This is far too much! Li Tongya waved his hand. The pouch flew to Li Chuyang's waist and hung there. Then Li Tongya patted his own storage pouch and took out a small jade bottle. This is a snake origin pill refined by the family. Take it first. When the time comes for you to attempt Qi refining, come up the mountain and find me. Li Chuyang went completely still. His eyes reddened. The temptation of Qi refining was so powerful that he could not force himself to refuse. His voice trembled. Quyang is ashamed to accept such generosity. What shame is there? Li Tongya's expression turned stern. The ones who should feel ashamed are those idle juniors. For 30 years you have planted spirit rice, guarded mines, slain demonic beasts, and carried out family duties. No one has served the clan more faithfully than you. Li Chuyang burst into tears. He agreed again and again. Li Tongya comforted him with several gentle words before sending him from the cave. Zhongshan of Kunk, the An clan. An Jingming stopped before the towering, lavish great hall. His father, An Jian, was once again holding a feast inside. Construction of this hall had begun on the day An Jian became family head. It was not completed until after An Jingming was born. No one knew how many craftsmen had been buried beneath the splendor of the building. An Jingming sighed and lowered his head. Everything before him was drenched in luxury and pleasure. A flash of anger rose in his heart. The Hong clan watches from the north. The Li family rises in the south like the morning sun. Even the Ding clan, which we ourselves brought into the region, is full of ambition. Yet no one in our household feels the slightest sense of danger. Rotten to the core. An Jingming strode forward angrily. Several mortals came toward him with lowered heads, carrying a large basket between them. Blood dripped from it. Every face was white with fear, and none dared look up at him. What happened? An Jingming coldly blocked their path. They had no choice but to release the basket and kneel. 5 or 6 severed fingers rolled from inside, bouncing stuff across the ground until they stopped at An Jingming's feet. The family head ate bear paw today. An Jingming closed his eyes. He already understood. An Jian was not lustful and cared little for wealth. His only great pleasure was food. Yet he was also violent and vicious. If a cook displeased him, he immediately wanted blood. If braised bear paw tasted poor, he cut off 5 of the cook's fingers. If a stew was not fragrant enough, he had the cook's legs severed. Every day, cries could be heard somewhere inside the hall. I understand. An Jingming shook his head helplessly. He could rebuke anyone in the An clan, anyone except his own father. He entered the great hall. An Jian was drinking. The moment he saw An Jingming, his face softened and he smiled. My family's Qilin has arrived, father. An Jingming bowed respectfully. Then he said, Jingming has something important to report to father. What is it? An Jian frowned slightly, staring absently at the braised bear paw before him. An Jingming clasped his hands and said in a heavy voice, When you and I are dead, the destruction of the An family will be close at hand. Above him, An Jian had been turning over the bear paw with silver chopsticks. His brows shot up. The flesh on his face tightened. What are you saying? His tone was still relatively restrained. There was no true anger in it. That alone showed Jingming was indeed the person Xiaoyan loved most. Had any other clan disciple dared speak such words, they would already have been beaten to death. Only from Jingming's mouth could they make the family head grow serious. The Yu clan acts overbearingly and has boundless ambition. The Li family is reserved and low-key, but united and ruthless when it matters. Our clan is trapped between them. We cannot watch both our front and rear. Does father truly feel no fear? Jingming stood in the courtyard. The golden ring around his wrist reflected sunlight. His hair was bound high, his young body straight in the wind as he stared at his father. This? Xiaoyan faltered. After some thought he said, "Did I not listen to you and bring the Ding clan to Wangyue Lake, maintaining a balance among three powers? The Yu clan also promised not to attack families that pay tribute. If the Li clan expands north one day, the Yu clan certainly will not sit back and allow them to grow. There is nothing to fear. You only need to cultivate in peace. Once you reach foundation establishment, our clan will have a secure place at the lake. Would that not solve everything?" Jingming clenched his teeth and shook his head. Looking at his father's satisfied face, he could barely breathe. "Father, why would the Yu clan sit quietly and watch me reach foundation establishment? This son does not even dare leave the family formation now. As my cultivation gradually rises, sooner or later the Yu clan will lose patience and find an excuse to kill me." Xiaoyan froze. His tongue moved, but he could think of no answer. Finally he asked, "Then what do you suggest?" Jingming cleared his throat and spoke in his still youthful voice. "Our family's awkward position comes from geography. Qijing Mountain is trapped between the Li and Yu clans. The best strategy is to sell Qijing Mountain to the Li family, forcing the Li clan to face the Yu clan directly. Then our families can form an alliance, while the Yu clan feels pressure from the Li family's rise. I hear Li Tongya has already reached the 8th layer of Qi refining. That alone will attract Yu attention. We should deepen relations with the Li family and arrange for me to marry a Li woman, borrowing the prestige of the Sword Immortal to deter the Yu clan. Once I reach foundation establishment, if Li Tongya succeeds as well, I will join hands with the Li family against the Yu clan. If Li Tongya fails, then I can rise and lead the alliance between our two families. Either way, both families have reason to cooperate." Jingming was still speaking when Xiaoyan's lips began trembling. His expression turned ugly. He threw down the silver chopsticks and interrupted hurriedly. "No, absolutely not! How many spirit fields are there on Qijing Mountain? How many of our clansmen do they support? We fought and bled to seize that land. How could we simply hand it to the Li family for nothing?" Jingming sighed softly. He knew Xiaoyan would never willingly yield territory, so he said, "If father refuses to give up Qijing Mountain, then this son has another strategy. The Li family's core is Li Tongya. He is extremely cautious, staying in the south and focusing on cultivation, so eliminating him directly is difficult. But if we join with the Yu clan to target Li Xuanling or Li Xuanfeng and remove one of them, how could Li Tongya possibly endure it? On the other side, the Yu clan is currently relatively friendly toward us, so there are opportunities to exploit. Yu Mugao is gloomy, ruthless, and difficult to deal with. If we unite several families to surround and kill Yu Mugao, more than half the Yu clan's immediate threat will disappear." Xiaoyan listened in growing confusion. His son wanted to kill Yu Mugao on one side and eliminate Li Xuanling or Li Xuanfeng on the other. He could no longer follow the child's thoughts. "So, is our clan on the Yu clan side or the Li family side?" "Both." Jingming smiled and raised his head slightly. "The Yu and Li families fear one another. That gives our clan opportunities to provoke suspicion between them. Whichever side dies or whichever side suffers losses while restraining the other, our position improves." Xiaoyan was clearly tempted. After several breaths of thought, he hesitated. "But neither side is stupid. Why would they simply do what you tell them? Father need not worry." Jingming clasped his hands. "It is precisely because neither side is stupid that they fear each other. Fear creates killing intent. Conflict between the two families is inevitable. We merely need to provide the spark. Father only needs to follow this son's plan. We must make the two families scheme against one another until both sides bleed." Lijing Town, the residence beneath the mountain. Muyalu paced around the courtyard twice before gently sitting on a stone chair. A servant hurriedly brought tea. Ever since Li Yuanzhao had been found to possess a spiritual aperture and unusual talent, Muyalu's position in the compound had improved greatly. In previous years, Li Xuanyuan rarely visited her courtyard. Muyalu had also deliberately kept an extremely low profile, reducing her presence as much as possible. Once Li Yuanzhao went up the mountain, however, Muyalu immediately became one of the most important women in the household. "Madame, this tea was sent by the principal wife's quarters last night. They have already sent gifts 3 times this month." A maid beside her explained softly. The young woman descended from Shanyu refugees but had long since become indistinguishable from the Easterners in speech and dress. Mu Yalu had personally brought her into the household and trusted her somewhat. She nodded slightly. The maid lowered her voice. Young Master Yuanshu and Jiaoer are close. The first madam ignored us in the past, but ever since Jiaoer was found to have a spiritual aperture, she has started showing so much favor. Mu Yalu waved a hand for her to stop. The principal wife has her own methods. For years she has managed the concubines in this household. Yuanshu was also raised well. She knows how to govern a family and is by no means an ordinary woman. She sees Jiaoer as Yuanshu's future right hand, so naturally she wants good relations with me. Mu Yalu set the small teacup on the table and asked, "What about the matter I told you to investigate? Have you learned the details?" "Madam, his name is Wu Mali. He is Mu Xiaoman's fourth son and is currently living in the eastern town." Mu Yalu smiled. Her eyes narrowed gently. Truly, heaven has delivered an opportunity. From now on, Eastern Shanyu will become even closer to the Li family. When Jiaoer grows older, he may even gather support from the Mulu tribe around himself. The maid did not understand why Mu Yalu considered this such good fortune, but seeing her mistress happy made her happy as well. Then the courtyard gate sounded softly. "Knock, knock. Mother, your son has returned. It's the young master." The maid brightened. Mu Yalu hurried to her feet, crossed the courtyard, and opened the gate. Li Yuanjiao stood outside smiling. "Jiaoer!" Mu Yalu stepped forward and embraced him. "Have you been comfortable on the mountain this year?" "More or less. The brothers and sisters all treat me well." Li Yuanjiao grinned, entered the courtyard, sat at the stone table and accepted tea. "Father has been in seclusion on the mountain this year. Has anyone in the household made things difficult for mother?" "No." Mu Yalu answered softly and refilled his cup. Li Yuanjiao visibly relaxed. "As long as the principal mother treats you well, I'm happy. Our household does not have all those vicious factions and petty schemes. That is a relief. Elder brother and I do not need to suffer over inner household disputes. It saves us a great deal of trouble." Mu Yalu nodded with a smile. Li Yuanjiao paused, then became serious. "These past few days I have been helping elder brother handle matters in the main compound. I have learned a great deal." Mu Yalu raised an eyebrow. Yuanjiao set down his tea bowl. "Mother sent someone to investigate Wu Mali, didn't you?" Mu Yalu immediately grew nervous. She nodded. "Yes." Li Yuanjiao shook his head. "Mother's identity is sensitive. If you want information like this, send someone up the mountain to ask me. In the future, do not investigate outside on your own. Li territory is not the same as Eastern Shanju. The clan's main compound has eyes and ears everywhere. You do not know all the hidden circumstances. Do not allow others to seize a weakness." Mu Yalu was instantly frightened. "Has this caused trouble? Did mother implicate you?" "It is nothing serious." Li Yuanjiao drank some tea and smiled. "The matter itself is not important. Besides, elder brother handed the confidential report to me and asked me to deal with it personally. I came only to remind mother." "That is good." Mu Yalu lowered her head and sighed. The mother and son chatted for a while. Then Mu Yalu steadied herself and dismissed the maid. Only after they were alone did she ask softly, "Young Master Yuanshu, does he treat you well?" "Very well." Li Yuanjiao lowered his voice too. "Among father's sons, only elder brother can cultivate. Our clan does not have many people. Among direct line descendants with spiritual apertures, boys and girls are treated equally. This child has never suffered any grievance. If anything, I have received enormous benefits." "That is good." Mu Yalu finally breathed easily. Then Li Yuanjiao said, "I heard the elders discussing fourth granduncle. He is in the southern wilderness and wholeheartedly pursues the pure Yang Dao. He has no interest in romantic relationships. The clan elders are considering adopting me into fourth granduncle's line as his eldest direct grandson. I came back partly to ask mother's opinion." "What?" Mu Yalu stared blankly. It felt as though an enormous pie had fallen from the heavens and struck her on the head. "You mean that Qingwei sword immortal?" "Yes." When Li Yuanjiao first heard the secret from Li Shanling, he had been shocked too. Seeing his mother's disbelief, he explained quietly, "Father has agreed as well. If this happens, I will become the eldest direct line son of the fourth branch. That will bring many advantages in the future." "Very good." Mu Yalu nodded. Everything she wanted was for her child's benefit, so naturally she agreed. After several breaths, she said quietly, "Then you could compete with Yuanshu for the position of young clan leader." "Mother, do not speak nonsense!" Li Yuanjiao shook his head sternly. "I respect elder brother more than anyone. Only he can serve as young clan leader. In this life, Jiaoer only wants to assist elder brother properly. I have no other intention." "That is good too." Mu Yalu smiled and no longer thought about it. As for Wu Mali, he is a man who lives for pleasure. The two spoke for a while and Li Yuanjiao carefully described Wu Mali. Mu Yalu laughed. "Not everyone understands people and worldly affairs. Your Li family is genuinely good to its own people and to the common folk under its rule. Outsiders are another matter. Wumali has fallen into the hands of you and your elder brother. In some ways, he is rather pitiful. We are giving him a throne. What is there to pity? Li Yuanjiao laughed. Mu Yalu smiled gently at him. Inwardly, she counted through the family from Li Xuanyuan to Li Yuanshu, and realized that not one of them was simple. She thought, every member of the Li family is sharp, strange, and single-mindedly devoted to strengthening the clan. 6 or 8 generations from now, I wonder whether that unity will remain. If it does not, there will surely be a fierce struggle of dragons and tigers. At least my son lives in an age when the family is united. He does not need to fight people this clever and calculating for power. At the summit of Li Jing, Li Tongya stepped through the air. His figure slid sideways like a ghost while several watery afterimages appeared around him. The shadows hovered briefly before vanishing with a hiss. The blue river crossing steps. At last I have mastered the first layer. From now on, I have another guarantee in battle. Unless I meet a foundation establishment cultivator, even if I cannot win, I should still be able to withdraw calmly. The blue river crossing steps had 3 layers. The opening layer was only moderately difficult. Later layers became vastly harder. Li Tongya had spent 7 or 8 years before finally mastering the first. The river's one-breath art he cultivated was a foundational method of the Lingyu sect, and came from the same lineage as this movement art. Under normal circumstances, he should have learned it very quickly. But in recent years, nearly all his energy had gone into cultivation. He hoped to reach foundation establishment before 60, so he only practiced the movement art when his main cultivation reached bottlenecks. That was why it had taken him 3 or 4 years of intermittent effort to complete the layer. Among the family, only Li Xuanling showed much talent for movement techniques and had already learned the art. Li Tongya had never heard of any other clansman mastering it. A pity about that pill flame heart art. Our Li family has grown so large, yet not a single person can summon pill flame. Then Li Tongya remembered the Xiao clan had far more people than the Li family, yet even among them only Xiao Chuting and Xiao Yuansi could summon pill flame. That made him feel somewhat better. No wonder Yuanwu Peak values Yu Muxian so highly. If he can refine artifacts, then he must satisfy some equally unusual requirement. Li Tongya had just set foot back on the mountain when a transmission of spiritual power entered the formation and echoed around the cave residences. Anjian of the An clan has come to visit. Brother Tongya, please open the formation. Anjian? Li Tongya paused. He had little friendship with the man. Years ago they had tacitly cooperated in dividing the Lu clan's holdings, but he had no idea why Anjian had come today. Li Tongya opened the formation and sat in the courtyard. Several breaths later, Li Xuanling led Anjian inside. Li Tongya glanced at him and greeted politely. Li Tongya greets Brother Jiayan. Brother, no need for ceremony. Anjian grinned and clasped his hands. His once gleaming bald head was now covered by a gray-white fur cap. He no longer looked like a common butcher and instead resembled a wealthy country landlord. I heard Brother Tongya has already reached the 8th layer of Qi refining. Truly astonishing speed. Anjian accepted tea with a smile. The two had not met for decades. Back then, their cultivation levels had been similar. Now Anjian had only reached the 5th layer of Qi refining, while Li Tongya was already at the 8th. Brother Jiayan praises me too highly. Li Tongya had no desire to waste time exchanging empty words. He went directly to the point. What brings Brother Jiayan here? Anjian lightly clasped his hands. His voice was calm. To kill you, Mugao. Li Tongya laughed inwardly. On his face he merely smiled. If Brother Jiayan came for this, then please return home. Xuanling, see our guest out. Li Tongya called once. Li Xuanling, who had been standing silently in the corner, stepped forward. Anjian hurriedly waved both hands. Brother Tongya, hear me out first. Li Tongya had never truly intended to throw him out immediately. Hearing this, he turned back, and Jiayan hurried on. Brother Tongya, your clan is protected by the reputation of a sword immortal, so no one dares openly look down on you. But the Yu clan has long wanted to sweep across Wangyu Lake. Even if they do not dare invade your territory openly, secret methods are inevitable. Yu Mugao cannot directly target Brother Tongya, but he can hire guest cultivators, rogue cultivators, or disciples from outside sects to secretly attack your younger generation. He only needs to remove your most outstanding descendants to sleep peacefully. The Sword Immortal's cultivation is profound, yes, but he is far away in the southern border. The Yu clan also has backing within the sect. As long as they leave no evidence, would the Qingwei Sword Immortal really cross tens of thousands of Li because 1 or 2 juniors died mysteriously? And Jiayan spoke far too bluntly. Li Tongya's brow furrowed again and again, he said. Brother Jiayan seems to understand the Yu clan rather well, and Jiayan had failed to persuade him. Instead, his words raised Li Tongya's suspicions. The 2 clans had been neighbors for many years, and each had hidden eyes within the other's territory. Li Tongya had heard plenty about this man. He thought, Yu Mugao is ruthless enough to do such things. But Anjian has always been selfish and miserly. He is not the sort of man who sees the larger board. Why is he behaving so differently today? Seeing Li Tongya lower his head without replying, and Xiaoyan assumed he was tempted and pressed harder. A man may have no intention of harming a tiger, but the tiger may still wish to harm him. Your clan may remain peacefully within its territory, but if the Yu family wants to preserve its current dominance over Wangyu Lake, it must suppress you. If they cannot strike Brother Tongya, then they will certainly scheme against your juniors. Li Tongya shook his head and deliberately gave an excuse. Yu Mugao and Yu Mujian both have good talent. Yu Xiaogui is already foundation establishment, and among the Xiao generation descendants of the Yu clan there are several peak Qi refining cultivators. They have no reason to fear my Li family. My answer remains unchanged. If Brother Xiaoyan came only for this, there is no need to save more. Please return. And Xiaoyan saw that he remained unmoved. He did not become angry. Instead, he said quietly, "My words are sincere. Brother Tongya understands the danger in his own heart. If your clan does not believe me, wait a few more years. Then you will understand why I came to warn you." With that, he clasped his hands and rode the wind away. Li Tongya remained standing there for a while. Li Xuanling hesitated before stepping forward. The son thinks his words contain some truth. We should still be careful. Li Tongya frowned and returned to his seat. The more he thought, the more something felt wrong. After several breaths, he said, "Those words did not originate with An Jiayan. I'm afraid this was in Jingming's idea." Remembering Yu Mugao's temperament and the relatively close relations between the An and Yu clans, Li Tongya felt a headache coming on. With Yu Mugao's personality, he certainly is capable of such things. And An Jingming is not only thinking about our family. I'm afraid he has been thinking about killing Yu Mugao as well, which is why he is hurriedly searching for hands willing to act against him. Li Xuanling frowned. But Yu Mugao spends most of his time inside Yu territory. When he leaves, he has a peak Qi refining cultivator protecting him. How could killing him be easy? We would only offend the Yu clan for nothing. Li Tongya nodded. This was never a realistic plan. From now on, tell the younger generation not to leave our territory unless necessary. We will wait until the Xiao clan's great plan concludes. Afterward, perhaps we can borrow some of the Xiao clan's strength. Then we will not need to let the Yu clan run rampant alone. Li Xuanling memorized the instruction. Li Tongya looked at the sky and continued. Now that we have snake origin pills, I can attempt to enter seclusion and break through to the 9th layer of Qi refining. It has only been 2 or 3 years since I reached the 8th layer, so this is somewhat rushed. But I have little choice. I must attempt foundation establishment before 60. Li Xuanling bit his lip. A difficult worry appeared in his eyes. He reorganized his thoughts before speaking uneasily. This son has heard that breaking from Qi refining into foundation establishment is a path where 9 die and 1 survives. Father is already in late Qi refining and is the pillar that stabilizes our whole family. This son fears. Li Tongya froze for a moment. Then he lowered his head and sighed. His eldest son was already a father himself. There was now hair around his mouth. Li Tongya felt a strange mixture of pride and tenderness. Your father reached this cultivation after taking only 3 pills and 1 stream of astral Qi. Everything else came from my own hard cultivation. I have never swallowed those rare medicines and spiritual treasures used by disciples of the 3 sects and 7 gates. For me, the breakthrough truly may be a matter of 9 deaths and 1 life. Seeing Li Xuanling's worried eyes, Li Tongya smiled. But I have cultivated tirelessly on the immortal path, striving day and night for one reason to cross foundation establishment before 60. While I still possess more than half a chance. If our Li family wishes to take another step forward, we must have a foundation establishment cultivator. Wangyu Lake is vast. Only foundation establishment cultivators truly have the right to speak there. With your 4th uncle's prestige protecting us, the Li family need not fear for 50 years. This is precisely the best time for me to attempt foundation establishment. If I fail and die on the path, the Yu clan will not immediately destroy our family. On the contrary, they may lower their guard. This son understands. Li Xuanling clasped his hands. Li Tongya nodded lightly, walked out of the courtyard, stepped onto the wind and flew toward the summit. Li Xuanling watched his father's back disappear. Worry remained in his heart. For the first time, he found himself hoping the day Li Tongya entered seclusion to attempt foundation establishment would come a little later. Lijing Town. The largest and most luxurious residence in Lijing Town did not belong to Li Xuanyuan beneath the mountain. Measured by land and splendor, Xuanyuan's estate would probably rank behind quite a few others. The grandest homes belonged to the clan's leading elders and senior uncles. After them came the 4 great households of Chen, Liu, Ren and Tian. Only after those would Li Xuanyuan's residence be counted. Chen Donghe had spent the past several years stationed at Huatian Mountain, cultivating with the aid of the spiritual spring there. He had not returned to the Chen clan for years. He had never imagined the Chen residence would grow to such a size. There were more than 300 people in the household now. Without a map listing names and quarters, one could easily fail to find the person one was looking for. The moment he reached the front courtyard, firecrackers exploded around him. People filled both sides of the entrance. His only healthy elder brother was already past 50 and had become the senior master of the household. He stood respectfully at the gate waiting. Beside him was a young boy in a coat, staring at Chen Donghe. Donghe swept him with spiritual sense and immediately knew this was the child with a spiritual aperture, the reason the family had called him home. "How old are you?" 8. Chen Donghe studied him closely. The boy bit his lip and stared back. "What is your name?" "Chen Mufeng." Chen Donghe straightened. Only then did his elder brother approach. The man's tone was respectful, so distant it was almost frightening. "We invited a mortal master here because we hope a mortal master will take this child with you. The Chen family will be endlessly grateful." With that, he dropped heavily to his knees. Everyone around him knelt as well and kowtowed. Their pleas rose like a tide. Chen Donghe ignored the crowd and studied the boy. He thought, "I cannot personally guide this child. That would create an unnecessary weakness. But I can find him a decent place to go. That should give the Chen family a proper answer." He helped his elder brother back to his feet. "Although I cannot personally take this child as my disciple, I can find him a good master." The old master of the Chen household froze. His expression shifted uncertainly. He hesitated. Would this good master's surname be Tian or Liu? Chen Dong did not spend much time dealing with the cultivators of other surnames below the mountain. At first he was confused. Then realization dawned. There are already 30 or 40 cultivators of other surnames attached to the Li family. Most are only at the first or second layer of embryonic breathing, but 3 or 4 have reached the 4th layer. It seems factions have already formed among them. This question concerns the Chen family's political alignment. Seeing Donghe's expression, the old master of the Chen family grew nervous. His wrinkled face forced out a smile. "We do not question a mortal master's decision. We only wish to know the master's name, so the family understands whose lineage the child is entering." Chen Donghe waved a hand and smiled. "Brother, do not worry, his surname is Li." "Li?" The old man was instantly overjoyed. He grinned, showing the few teeth he had left. "Li is good. Li is very good." Chen Donghe laughed, took Chen Mufeng by the hand, and rode the wind upward. The people below remained behind, staring enviously. Donghe flew through the town for a while. The child trembled in his arms. They descended into a broad courtyard. Chen Mufeng staggered several steps when his feet touched the ground. Chen Donghe released him. A man stood outside a stone doorway. His hair was gray-white, but his back remained straight. Seeing Chen Donghe, he looked slightly surprised and clasped his hands. "Greetings, Brother Dong. This is unusual. Have you come to see Wu Mali?" "No." Chen Dong smiled and returned the salute. He drew the child forward. "I came to see Brother Chuyang." Li Chuyang stepped forward and sat on a stone chair in the courtyard. His spiritual sense extended from his body. Still keeping watch on Wu Mali in the distance, he smiled. "Brother Dong, just say what you need." Chen Dong nodded and became serious. "I returned to the Chen family and discovered a child with a spiritual aperture. They want me to guide him onto the Tao, but it is inconvenient for me to keep him at my side. I'm afraid I must entrust him to Brother Chuyang." "Oh?" Li Chuyang lowered his head. He did not immediately agree. He studied Chen Mufeng's face for a while. The boy seemed obedient enough. Then Chen Donghe transmitted his voice with spiritual power. "I heard none of Brother Chuyang's children possess spiritual apertures, and at your age it will also be difficult to have more descendants. Why not accept this child and teach him wholeheartedly as a disciple? In the future, arrange a wife for him. Then even after you pass away 100 years from now, your descendants will still have someone to protect them." Those words touched precisely the knot in Li Chuyang's heart. A smile immediately appeared on his face. He nodded several times. "Since Brother Donghe puts it that way, I will accept the child." Chen Donghe laughed and patted the boy on the back. "Call him Master." "Master." The boy was indeed obedient. His voice rang clear and crisp. Li Chuyang immediately took his hand affectionately and asked his name and background. Chen Donghe smiled as he watched them speak. Only after they finished did he say softly, "Dong has something else he wishes to ask Brother Chuyang. Please." Li Chuyang looked up. Chen Donghe took 2 small cups from his storage pouch, then a wine gourd. He filled both cups and lowered his voice. "Donghe has spent many years cultivating on Huashan Mountain and knows little about the other cultivators in the household. I wonder, could Brother Chuyang explain the situation to me? So that is what this is about." Li Chuyang raised his cup as though to sip. He glanced at the closed stone door, then set the jade cup back down and smiled. "At present, there are 28 embryonic breathing cultivators of other surnames serving the family. There are also 6 embryonic breathing cultivators from the combined Yi-Li branch. Most are at the first or second layer and hardly worth discussing. Only a handful began cultivation early enough to reach higher levels. Li Chijing glanced at Chen Mufeng. The child had clearly pricked up his ears to listen. Qiuyang gave a slight nod and continued seriously. First is a cultivator at the 5th layer of embryonic breathing, surnamed Tian. He is the head of the Ting household, the natal family of the Great King's wife. At the words Great King, both men fell silent. They were among those who had once followed Li Xiangping through life and death. When operating in Xuanyuan territory, they had always called Li Xiangping Great King. The Great King died in Xuanyuan. In the years afterward, the matriarch also passed away from exhaustion. The Tian family status declined considerably. But this man has decent talent. He is around 40 now. His chance of reaching Feining is not large, but it still exists. He currently oversees the planting of spirit rice around the town. Many people depend on him for farmland and work. You could say he is the leader of one faction. Next are the Lu and Ren families. Both have cultivators at the 4th layer of embryonic breathing. Most likely neither will ever reach Qi refining. Each controls their own little circle. Chen Donghe sipped the weak wine and frowned. Does the family know about this? That I do not know. Li Qiuyang shook his head. His spiritual sense swept outside the courtyard. He lowered his voice further. Such matters belong to the clan administration. I avoid this kind of thing whenever possible. What Li family disciple does not fear the main compound? Why would I willingly interfere? Chen Donghe understood. He apologized for asking and thought for several breaths. Are the struggles between those factions severe? They were mild in the past. Li Qiuyang's voice grew quieter. The faint wrinkles at the corners of his eyes showed in the light. Every household has its interests. Different spirit fields produce different yields, and different duties receive different stipends. In the past, everyone simply farmed, worked hard, and did not complain. But since young Master Yuanxiu began managing household affairs, the factions have competed more fiercely. Quite a few people have been pushed into barren areas because of internal disputes. They have had no choice but to exhaust themselves, turning poor ground into good fields. I see. Chen Donghe nodded slowly. This probably should be reported to the family so Xuanling and the others can decide how to handle it. If it continues too long, it may bear poisonous fruit. He said goodbye to Li Qiuyang and rode the wind toward the mountain. Li Qiuyang remained in the courtyard, silently watching the direction he had gone. After a long while, he smiled. Dong is still exactly the same as ever. The stone road up Mount Lijing had been laid decades ago. Pale green patterns now covered the slabs. Li Qinghong had heard that her third granduncle Li Xiangping had overseen the construction. Few of the laborers who laid this road were still alive. Li Qinghong stepped along the old stones. She had not seen her younger brother Li Yuanyuan for several days. After searching around the mountain, she finally found him in the side courtyard of their aunt Li Jingtian. The boy sat upright in the courtyard, carefully reading a wooden slip. Li Qinghong entered and looked at him. A trace of unease rose in her heart. Little brother Yun. Li Qinghong had received a talisman seed at the summit nearly a year ago. Since then, her days had been filled with cultivation and spear practice. Li Yuanyuan rarely entered the main compound. She had only seen him a few times. Her younger brother could not cultivate. Whenever King Hong appeared before him, she felt a strange, inexplicable guilt. Elder sister is here. Li Yuanyuan's eyes brightened. He set down the wooden slip and smiled. I haven't seen you for several days. Li Qinghong smiled sweetly and glanced at the wooden slip on the table. The title described 200 years of history and customs in Linghai County. She was surprised. You used to hate these endless, musty histories. Why are you reading this now? Li Yuanyuan laughed and explained, I cannot cultivate. I know I am also far inferior to brother Yuanshu when it comes to governing the clan. So I can only search for something I am capable of doing. I came to Aunt's place to read. Maybe one day I can help her with her work. The words struck Li Qinghong like a wolf lunging with bared fangs. She instinctively avoided his eyes and took several steps back. Then she hurriedly changed the subject with a forced smile. So, what did you gain from reading it? Li Yuanyuan sighed and lifted the wooden slip. After reading it, I only feel afraid. Afraid? What is there to fear? Li Qinghong steadied her emotions and asked in confusion. Our clan is united. Xuanyu submitted long ago. Father and mother are affectionate. I have never heard of anything truly terrible happening. Wanshu and I grew up thinking the world was stable and peaceful. Li Yuanyuan gripped the wooden slip tightly. His face showed unease. Then I read this history. Only then did I learn how unstable the 4 regions truly are. Blood flows like rivers in many places. Plots and schemes overlap one after another. Families attack and counterattack, and at the slightest change, entire households are destroyed. Our Li family looks peaceful now. But who knows how many schemes and calculations are hidden in the dark. This world feels filthy. Elder sister, being born into the Li family means good food and clothing. Even a mortal without a spiritual aperture can live comfortably for a lifetime. But I truly am afraid. I am afraid that one night I will wake to the family formation collapsing with a roar, immortal swords shining as they descend from the sky, and that I will die in the middle of a pleasant dream without even knowing why. Li Qinghong said nothing. For several breaths, she stared at Li Wanyun's reddened eyes. Then she said quietly, "Father once said the rules of this world were created by immortals. Why would immortals care about the morals of mortals? Naturally, they use whatever methods they need." Elder sister. Li Wanyun looked up at her, then lowered his head. "I read the clan history. Huachin Mountain was taken from the Lu clan. The Lu clan was also Mother's natal family, and now it is gone. I once saw Mother secretly crying. Perhaps that was why." Li Qinghong remained silent for a long time. Then she said, "If our Li family had not taken it, the An clan would have taken it that very night. The Li family did nothing wrong. The Lu clan may not have done anything wrong either. But once matters reached that point, there was only one road left. If the Lu family head had understood the situation, it might have ended peacefully. If anyone was wrong, perhaps it was simply that things went wrong. Elder sister is right." Li Wanyun set down the wooden slip. His expression relaxed somewhat. "It is a pity I cannot see far enough. Otherwise, I would write a book called 200 Years of Wangyu Lake History and Customs. The twists and turns there would surely be no less complicated than those of Linghai County." Li Qinghong smiled softly and nodded. She was about to speak when the courtyard gate creaked open. A woman of around 25 or 26 walked inside. Her long hair fell like a waterfall and was tied behind her head. She lowered the paper umbrella in her hand and smiled gently. "Qinghong is here. Aunt!" Li Qinghong grinned and hurried forward to hug Li Jingtian. Then she noticed a middle-aged man entering behind her. He had a calm, cultivated air and greeted Qinghong politely. "Uncle-in-law is here too." Chen Donghe nodded lightly. The two children followed them back into the courtyard, but soon found themselves unable to sit still. They rarely met this uncle-in-law, a Qi refining cultivator, and found him serious and unfamiliar. They quickly found excuses to leave. Li Jingtian smiled and saw them off. When she returned, Chen Donghe was staring at the rows of wooden slips on the table. She asked gently, "What are you looking at?" Chen Donghe rubbed his chin and praised. "The Li bloodline truly is extraordinary." Qinghong and Yuanjiao broke through the profound sensory chakra at astonishing speed. Back then, Xuanyuan and Xuanling were exceptional as well. It seems the bloodline is naturally suited to entering the Tao. Li Jingtian's brow tightened slightly. She concealed the strange look in her eyes, turned away, and smiled. "They are descendants of a Foundation Establishment immortal cultivator. After all." Chen Donghe nodded without thinking deeply. His spiritual sense swept the surroundings. After confirming no one was nearby, he lowered his voice. "To tell you the truth, I discovered something these past few days that leaves me uneasy. I have been wondering whether I should go up the mountain and speak to second uncle or Xuanling. I wanted to investigate more carefully first." "What happened?" Li Jingtian sat at the table. Chen Dong became serious. "There are now dozens of cultivators of other surnames in the family. Most are merely minor cultivators at the first or second layer of embryonic breathing, but we cannot dismiss them. They are assigned throughout the territory to nurture spirit fields, guard towns, eliminate demonic creatures, heal illnesses, and handle other important duties. These people represent the voices and interests of powers outside the direct Li line. Factions have formed everywhere. 3 cultivators at the 4th and 5th layers of embryonic breathing stand at the head of the largest groups. There is plenty of ugliness beneath the surface. The main clan administration does not restrain them heavily. If this continues too long, I fear problems will arise." Li Jingtian thought for several breaths. Her small pale hands gathered the wooden slips on the table and placed them neatly together. Only then did she say, "The clan administration has eyes and ears everywhere. Do you truly think the clan administration has not discovered what you noticed? I suspect reports were placed on Yuan Shu's desk long ago. Perhaps they have already reached the cave residence at Mixi Peak. If the clan has delayed dealing with the matter, then there is probably another calculation behind it. These people do not represent only themselves. They also represent the interests of collateral branches and minor households behind them. Conflict is unavoidable." "Perhaps." Chen Donghe looked up. Li Jingtian leaned closer to his ear. Her red lips opened as she whispered gently, "The person deliberately allowing them to fight may be our Yuan Shu himself." The clan administration's main compound stood below Mount Lijing, close against the foot of the mountain. It had once been the Li family's original estate beneath the mountain. 2 side compounds flanked it. The entire residence faced south with its back to the north, forming a broad rectangle. The front courtyard was paved with stone bricks and served as an open yard. Every stone had once been personally tamped into place by the four Li brothers. Li Chonghu and Li Tongya laid the masonry. Li Xiangping and Li Chijing hauled materials. If one looked carefully into the seams of the walls, perhaps the faint fingerprints of the four brothers in their youth could still be found. They had worked with extraordinary care. Decades of wind and rain had yet to loosen the structure. Li Zhewen was now over 30. He had become a solemn, upright, middle-aged man and dressed simply. Li Xuanyuan was in seclusion. Li Yuanshu governed the family, so Li Xiaowen had voluntarily handed the town's daily administration to his eldest son Li Pingyi and moved his own work into the greater clan compound. It was much like the night years ago, when Li Yesheng had entrusted Li Jing Town to him. Li Xiaowen had held Li Pingyi's hand and spoken with him by candlelight throughout the night. He began with stories of Li Yisheng releasing ducks along the Mixi River and continued all the way to the present prominence of Li Shiwen's branch. Holding his son's hand, he had said solemnly, "Our branch has long been responsible for managing Lijing Town. Your grandfather and Lord Shangping both died in Shanyu. For 18 years, your father and the old masters have balanced the families of Lijing Town and restrained the younger generation. You must understand that the rise and fall of our line depends entirely on the young clan head. You must act with caution." Li Pingyi had always been clever. He had seen these matters since childhood and had grown up following Li Yuanshu. Naturally, he understood his father's intentions. He had already assisted Yuanshu in governing the family for a year and had never been lazy. Li Shijun stood in the courtyard. Clan soldiers passing on either side lowered their heads to greet him. He answered each one. After the time of an incense stick, his eldest son Li Pingyi finally emerged from the inner courtyard. Father and son each held official roles in the clan administration. Everyone's eyes watched them, so inside the compound they naturally did not address one another as father and son. Li Pingyi referred to his father by official title. Li Xiaowen answered respectfully. "Thank you, administrator." Li Xiaowen followed Li Pingyi into the central hall. Rows of clan soldiers stood there in the dimness. Two men knelt before the hall, stripped bare to receive punishment. Blood covered the ground beneath them. Both gritted their teeth and did not dare make a sound. Gray-white wooden placards hung around their necks. Li Zhewen looked closely. One read, "Oppressing a common woman." The other read, "Greed and extortion." Neither seemed to be a member of his own branch. He quietly breathed a sigh of relief. They passed through the dark central hall. The rear chamber was much brighter. Windows opened on both sides, admitting threads of sunlight. Oil lamps also burned there, apparently lit through some method that produced no black smoke. A young man sat above. He looked 16 or 17. His black hair was arranged neatly beneath a jade crown. His brows were straight like swords, his facial lines smooth and refined. Dark gray eyes looked over. He smiled. "I heard Uncle Jiwen wished to see me." Yuanshu hurried down from the mountain and made Uncle wait. "Please forgive me. I wouldn't dare! I wouldn't dare!" Li Shiwen saw the sincerity on his face and felt reassured, but he still did not relax his formality. This subordinate was assigned to investigate the minor branches and collateral cultivators. "In recent days I received certain information and hurried here to report it. Please speak, clan uncle." Li Yuanshu nodded. Li Shiwen clasped his hands. "The Chen family's son has entered Li Chuyang's tutelage. They have already arranged a marriage with one of his granddaughters. The Chen family has therefore effectively joined Chuyang's faction. As for uncle-in-law has already spoken to me about that." Li Yuanshu waved a hand. He clearly had no intention of pursuing the matter further. He smiled. "Uncle-in-law and clan uncle Chuyang are both pillars of our family. There is nothing wrong with that." Li Xiaowen could tell Li Yuanshu had deliberately interrupted him, because he did not want the matter investigated further. Some words, once spoken aloud, would only offend people. So Li Xiaowen stopped and continued with the next report. "At present, the Yeli branch of our clan has more than 6,500 people, while the minor branches together number roughly 1,200. There are 8 cultivators among them. We have already identified the disciples involved in disputes with outside families. There are more than 600 mortals. And 3 cultivators." Li Yuanshu frowned slightly. After several breaths of thought, he said, "Most of those mortals are connected by marriage to cultivators of other surnames. Entanglement is inevitable. As for cultivators from the family and minor branches, none of those households exists alone. They all have parents, relatives, people they favor, people they dislike, and interests tied together in complicated ways. Handling them directly will not be simple." He looked at Li Jiwen. "Clan uncle, identify the talented disciples among them. Transfer the promising ones to Washin Mountain to cultivate under uncle-in-law. Get them away from these disputes. As for the rest, most will spend their entire lives trapped in embryonic breathing. If they want to fight, let them fight. In the end, what are they but a handful of ashes?" Have people watch them. As long as they do not make things too ugly, let the rest play itself out. Yes. Li Xiaowen accepted in a deep voice. He reported several more scattered details before bowing and withdrawing. Only then did Li Pingyi look toward Li Yuanxiu. Young clan head, should our people continue adding fuel to the fire? No. Pull them back. Li Yuanxiu gathered the wooden slips on the table, lifted his tea bowl and drank. If the disturbance continues too long, it becomes ugly. The current level is enough. Let them hate one another until their teeth ache, but keep them from doing anything decisive. There will only be more cultivators in the family as time passes. Cultivators are not truly beyond worldly needs. Spirit rice and spirit stones alone are enough to make them fight until their heads split. Conflict was inevitable sooner or later. By pushing matters forward now, we can see clearly who is treacherous, who is clever, who is steady, and who is honest. When something happens later, we will know whom to use and whom to avoid. Li Pingyi nodded. Li Yuanxiu picked up a brush and marked the diagram before him. His brows lifted slightly. But most of the senior family members are in seclusion right now. Everything must remain stable. We cannot disturb the elders. Send several people to keep watching. If something truly serious develops, warn them early. If lives are lost, it will become difficult to contain. This subordinate understands. Li Pingyi clasped his hands. Thinking through recent reports, he suddenly remembered another matter. Young clan head, that cultivator from the Tian family has reached the 5th layer of embryonic breathing, the Jade Capital Chakra. He has therefore developed spiritual sense. Every movement around him is now clear as day. Our people were nearly discovered, so this subordinate had them withdraw first to avoid exposing anything. Once a cultivator reaches the 5th layer of embryonic breathing, they have already surpassed ordinary mortals. They are difficult to manage through normal means. I have considered this. Li Yuanxiu set down the brush. Clearly, the issue had already been on his mind. A cultivator at the 5th layer of embryonic breathing, or at the peak of the realm, has a body and senses enhanced far beyond mortals. The main compound cannot simply manage them like ordinary servants. I intend to send a letter to Mixi Peak and have him assigned elsewhere. If he already possesses spiritual sense, leaving him to farm is too wasteful. He can enter the mountains to kill demonic beasts or work on making talisman paper. There is no need to keep him below the mountain under ordinary administration. Li Yuanxiu paused and thought several times before continuing. There are still too few cultivators in the family who have developed spiritual sense to form a separate organization. But as the cultivators of other surnames gradually mature, this matter will eventually need to be dealt with openly. Young clan head has considered it well. What? Another one. Inside a dim stone chamber, Wumali had just been awakened from cultivation. Hearing the news from the servant before him, he froze. Embarrassment flooded his face. How is there another one? Which number is this? Your Highness, it is already the 5th! Wumali felt bitterness spread through his mouth. He had cultivated in Eastern Territory for 2 years and swallowed several spirit fruits. At last, he had reached the 5th layer of embryonic breathing. He had thought this a speed worth being proud of. Who would have imagined his wives and concubines would become pregnant even faster than he cultivated? The first child can already walk, truly astonishing. Back in the palace of Eastern Shanyu, Wumali had also possessed wives and concubines. But the palace had received secret instructions from Mu Xiaoman to prevent those women from giving him children too quickly. Who would have imagined that after Wumali came east, sons would begin appearing one after another? He wandered out of the stone chamber in a daze. Looking at the group of wives and concubines before him, he almost could not remember which name belonged to which face. One pregnant concubine approached with a smile. She had already been pregnant when he entered seclusion. Now she was close to giving birth. Surely this one is mine, right? Wumali felt strangely nervous. He had not seen most of these women for months, and every face looked almost new. He pulled the pregnant concubine closer and looked at her shy expression. He could not remember when he had slept with her. Forget it! At least the eldest son is definitely mine. Wumali looked toward the woman standing at the front of the group. She held a child around 1 or 2 years old. The boy had narrow eyes and healthy wheat-colored skin. At a glance, he clearly carried the Mulu bloodline. The woman had already been pregnant when Wumali first entered Eastern Territory. It was the first time in his life he had fathered a child. He treasured the boy dearly and had kept careful watch over the pregnancy and birth. He was quite certain this child was his. This one will be the future prince. Wumali proudly lifted the child and played with him. Before long, an attendant entered the courtyard and bowed respectfully. Your Highness, young Master Zhao has arrived. The smile immediately disappeared from Wumali's face. He cursed inwardly. Damn it, he must be bringing more spirit fruit. That means I have to go back into seclusion again. Wu Mali desperately wanted to spend some time enjoying himself with his wives and concubines. But he lived under another family's roof and could not openly refuse. He cursed inside while filling his face with a smile and hurried out to greet Yuanzhao. Young master has arrived. Wu Mali had lived among the Easterners for 2 years now and had finally learned a little of their polite speech. He began with the greeting he had practiced. Li Yuanzhao strode into the courtyard and frowned. Why is cousin so polite today? Wu Mali laughed awkwardly twice. Those were the only opening lines he had learned. He had not expected Li Yuanzhao to depart from the usual pattern and ask him a question in return. He was instantly speechless and could only laugh stupidly, not knowing how to answer. The wives and concubines withdrew. Wu Mali welcomed Li Yuanzhao into the house. The 2 sat servants brought tea. Only then did Li Yuanzhao speak. Kaozan has broken through to the 5th layer of embryonic breathing. The distance to Qi refining is much shorter now. You have taken another step toward returning to Eastern Xuanyuan and seizing the throne. Congratulations. Wu Mali chuckled and nodded clumsily. Li Yuanzhao opened one hand as though speaking casually. Your elder brother is now firmly seated on the throne. He has gathered the old retainers to his side. Not one of your other brothers survived. At present, he is enjoying great power and prestige. How hateful. The words instantly filled Wu Mali with jealousy and resentment. He cursed without thinking. Li Yuanzhao took a sip of tea, appearing troubled. Your elder brother does have some vision. The moment he stabilized his position, he sent a trade caravan east. They brought tribute 5 or 6 full carts. He even wants to marry a daughter into our family to maintain the marriage alliance. The town is packed with horses and carts today. Everyone has gathered around just to look at the tribute. What? It was as though someone had stepped on Wu Mali's tail. He nearly jumped 3 feet into the air. Jealousy, hatred, shock, and panic struck him at once until his head spun. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Wu Mali's current life was comfortable and carefree. He had wives and concubines in abundance, and his cultivation had risen another step. Every one of those things depended on the Li family. He might not be clever, but he was not completely stupid. He understood very clearly that his value came from the possibility of delivering Eastern Xuanyuan into Li hands. His elder brother was no fool either. If Yimu understood this and hurried to submit first, then Wu Mali's usefulness might disappear. How could he not be terrified? His legs began trembling. He could not speak. He seized his tea bowl and drank several large gulps. Only then did he set it down with shaking hands. He was not normally a calculating man, but at a critical moment he still possessed some instinct for survival. Otherwise, he would never have fled to the Li family in the first place. He stammered, young master, Yimu is greedy. He is not someone who can truly behave himself. He cannot genuinely submit. He must be waiting for an opportunity. Li Yuanzhao saw that Wu Mali was frightened badly enough. He deliberately remained silent for a while. When Wu Mali's eyes had nearly turned red, Yuanzhao judged the fire had reached the right heat. Only then did he become serious. Cousin, do not worry. Brother Zhao understands. You are my true brother. Yimu killed his brothers and murdered his father. How could such a man submit sincerely? Yes, exactly. He killed his brothers and murdered his father. He could never truly submit. Wu Mali nearly applauded Yuanzhao's brilliant reasoning. The conclusion flowed so naturally that he finally breathed again. Then Li Yuanzhao looked troubled once more. Unfortunately, that man's disguise is too convincing. Several elders in the family have actually begun to believe him. Yuanzhao argued with them as strongly as I could, and only then did they agree to reconsider. But what? Wu Mali was close to tears. He felt deep gratitude toward this cousin for defending him. When Yuanzhao deliberately left the sentence unfinished, Wu Mali hurriedly asked, "But your cultivation is simply too slow. The family lacks confidence in you." Bang! Wu Mali shot to his feet. The large wooden chair beneath him snapped a leg and collapsed sideways. His face turned scarlet. "Damn it! I'm going to cultivate right now! Wait!" Li Yuanzhao had not expected such a violent reaction and was briefly startled. Then he asked in a grave voice, "Kaozan cultivates the Shanyu Earth method, correct?" Wu Mali's throat tightened. He nodded in embarrassment. "Yes, the cultivation speed of that method is extremely slow. When breaking through, we merely gather some impure qi from heaven and earth. After condensing it for a little over a month, we can swallow it. It cannot compare with the refined methods of you Easterners. Weak cultivation methods had been the pain of the Xuanyuan for hundreds and thousands of years. Any Xuanyu ruler who rose high enough and finally came into contact with the outside cultivation world soon understood just how inferior their arts were. There was no need to compare cultivators of equal realms. An orthodox cultivator facing crude Xuanyu qi refiners who had swallowed impure qi could often fight 3 or 4 of them alone. This brother knows your method is poor. That is why I specially petitioned the family and asked them to grant you an orthodox cultivation method." What? The enormous joy struck Wu Mali so hard he went dizzy. For a long moment, he could not speak. His breathing quickened beyond control. His voice came out hoarse. "Brother treats me so well. Wu Mali will remember it forever. But you must not offend the elders because of me. Do not worry." Li Yuanjiao shook his head. "So long as cousin reaches the peak of embryonic breathing within the next few years, Yuanjiao is confident I can persuade the family to grant you an orthodox method. I will also plead for reinforcements. I will make cousin comparable to Xianxia of years past." How could Wu Mali remain calm after hearing this? He was overwhelmed with emotion. Tears streamed down his face. He nodded hard, bowed deeply to Li Yuanjiao, and gritted his teeth. Great kindness cannot be repaid with words. If one day Wu Mali rules Xuanyuan, Brother Yuanjiao will be the true king above my Xuanyuan. Candle flames flickered in the main hall. Li Yuanxiu sat sideways in his chair. Below him knelt a Shanju envoy covered in animal bones and jade ornaments. The man's forehead nearly touched the floor. "This humble one greets the young clan head. Our great king remembers the friendship between our two families. He hopes his aunt and uncle by marriage remain in good health. He also values the bond between our clans and has sent many products from our lands as tribute. The position of queen is presently vacant. Our great king still hopes to marry a daughter of the Li clan's branch line." Li Yuanxiu rose and walked forward, descending 2 steps from the high seat. The clan soldiers on both sides immediately fixed their eyes on the Xuanyuan envoy. Chen Donghe stood below the steps as well, silently vigilant in case the man suddenly attacked. "The Li family lies in the east. We have only heard that Xuanyuan descended into turmoil and that none of Mu Xiaoman's sons survived. The envoy has come a long way. Perhaps you can clear up our confusion?" Li Yuanxiu did not answer the marriage proposal at all. Instead, he seized on the bloodiest detail of the Xuanyuan unrest. The envoy immediately began stammering, sweat covering his head. The current Xuanyuan king Yimu had obeyed Mu Xiaoman's orders and slaughtered his brothers. At the time, the excuse given was that those princes had betrayed Xuanyuan. The matter was already tangled with inconsistencies. Using that story to answer Li Yuanxiu was even more difficult. The envoy could only reply in a trembling voice. There was unrest. The late king's descendants were killed, and a change of ruler became unavoidable. It was not something our great king deliberately sought. Our great king specially protected the royal consort as well. That should count as merit. The royal consort naturally referred to the branch daughter the Li family had married West years earlier. Mu Xiaoman had given the Li family face and kept her in the palace reserved for noble wives. Yet he had also been cautious. She had never borne children. Her status in the palace was therefore unusual. Whenever factions fought, every side sent people to protect her. Li Yuanxiu still did not answer. He watched the trembling envoy and calculated silently. "Before Wu Mali reaches Qi refining, we will recognize Yimu as ruler. That will prevent him from growing suspicious, seeking outside aid, or creating unforeseen problems. For now, everything should continue exactly as before and let him feel secure. Tribute and trade are easy enough, but if we choose another branch daughter to marry West, won't she become a widow within a few years? There are not many daughters left in the minor branches. The clan elders will certainly make a great noise about it." The Xuanyuan envoy did not know what Yuanxiu was thinking. Assuming the young clan head had become angry, he trembled violently. Sweat poured from his body and collected in a small puddle on the stone tiles. Only then did Li Yuanxiu break the silence. "If Xuanyuan wishes to maintain the marriage alliance between our families, the Li clan agrees. Tribute and trade can continue according to the old arrangement." "Thank you, great king. Thank you, great king." The envoy felt as though he had been pardoned from death. He slammed his forehead against the floor several times and, in his panic, even called Li Yuanxiu great king. Li Yuanxiu lifted a hand and smiled. "However, our clan currently has few suitable daughters. Those with status cannot simply be married away at a word. My father is in seclusion and I am not as easy to persuade as he is. So I require one additional condition." "Great king, please speak," the envoy asked hurriedly. Li Yuanxiu smiled. "A daughter of my Li clan is to marry West. How could she have no fief? To the west of eastern Xianxians there are still many independent villages. I want Yimu to conquer several villages farther west and grant one of them to our clan daughter." This, the envoy had never imagined such a demand. He froze. A so-called fief meant little to a clan daughter without real authority. It would simply grant her some additional land and wealth. Even so, he tried to bargain. Could the fief not be taken from 1 or 2 villages already belonging to eastern Xuanyuan? Our great king would not be stingy. Xuanyuan has only just survived great turmoil. I fear it is not suitable to mobilize troops again so soon. Li Yuanxiu frowned. He did not let the man finish. He cut him off fiercely. "Is this the sincerity of your great king?" Xuanyuan was weak and needed the Li family's reputation to survive. The envoy naturally had no spine before him. Frightened by Yuanxiu's sudden anger, He kowtowed like pounding garlic. "Mercy, young clan head. This humble one will immediately report to the great king. We will have an answer within days. I beg the young clan head's forgiveness." "Withdraw." Li Yuanshu waved a hand. The man hurried out. Soon clan soldiers led another person in. He also wore Xuanyuan clothing, but knelt with a fist clasped before his chest. "Young clan head, has my clan elder sister sent news back?" Li Yuanshu asked. The Xuanyuan man took a thick stack of cloth from his robes and respectfully presented it. "The royal dowager consort has recorded the locations of every Qi refining cultivator in Xianyu, along with many other Xianyu secrets. Everything is written here." Li Pingyi stepped forward and accepted it. Li Yuanshu nodded with a smile. "Return and tell my clan elder sister to continue playing her role as their royal dowager consort for now. Within a few years, we will find a way to reunite her with her family." "Yes." The man thanked him and withdrew. Li Pingyi opened the folded cloth and read for a while. He murmured, 3 early Qi refining cultivators and 1 mid-stage Qi refiner. All of them practice impure Qi methods. Xianyu is remarkably weak. No wonder Yimu could suppress the internal turmoil in one sweep and then immediately come submit to us." Li Yuanzhao had already been standing in the courtyard. He glanced at the Xuanyuan messenger and waited until the man left before speaking. "Elder brother, this clan elder sister of ours may only be a woman from a minor branch, but she is certainly not simple. Mu Xiaoman guarded against her so carefully while he lived. Yet, after his death, she quickly gathered support, collected intelligence in such detail, and arranged for one of her people to infiltrate the trade caravan and return with it. That is not easy." Li Yuanshu nodded as he read the report. The branch daughter chosen to marry West years ago was carefully selected. The people who accompanied her were loyal as well. When she returns, the family should record a merit for her. The Li family's marriage arrangements were naturally nothing like the brutal customs of the Mulu tribe in earlier days. Their clan daughter was allowed to return home to visit every year and had taken a number of loyal retainers west with her. Li Yuanzhao nodded in agreement. Then he said, "Elder brother, Wumali has broken through to the 5th layer of embryonic breathing. I persuaded him to return to seclusion. The spirit fruits have also been delivered. Once he passes the difficult Jade Capital Chakra and receives help from spiritual resources, he may attempt Qi refining within 2 years." "Good." Li Yuanshu nodded lightly. After several breaths of thought, he said, "I will personally go up the mountain and speak with the elders. We should have that portion of impure Qi prepared." Li Yuanzhao chuckled. "I listened outside for a while. Elder brother's method is excellent. You forced the new Xianyu king to expand west. No matter which 2 towns or villages he conquers, in the end they will still belong to our Li family." A smile spread across Li Yuanshu's face. It resembled Yuanzhao's, though his features were softer and more relaxed than his younger brother's sharp expression. He looked down at Yuanzhao. "You and I both understand the family's larger plan. I only added one more link. If Mount Wu remains sealed, then the Xianyu villages farther west will inevitably lose their support. Judging by the reports coming back, Yimu probably already intends to expand westward. I simply gave him a reason. Let him conquer more villages for us. His own soldiers and resources will be exhausted in the process. He will spend wealth, lose men, and accumulate blood debt. When Wumali eventually replaces him, the change will look more justified. Elder brother's thinking is still more careful than mine." Li Yuanzhao smiled in praise. Li Yuanshu waved a hand. "It is merely something convenient to do along the way. It will not greatly alter the overall situation. It only makes the later steps smoother. What about the clan daughter to be married west? Who does elder brother intend to send?" Only then did Li Yuanshu lift his eyes from the report. "No one." Li Yuanzhao paused. Then he understood. "I know elder brother cherishes our clansmen, but is that truly safe?" "Of course." Li Yuanshu smiled and nodded. "Go into town and find a trustworthy young woman. Train her properly and send her west under a suitable identity. Whether Yimu notices or not does not matter. Even if he realizes something is wrong, he will have to swallow it. What can he possibly say? Once Eastern Xianyu is under our control, bring her back. We can then give her an identity in a branch line. There will naturally be plenty of women willing to accept such an arrangement." Li Yuanzhao lowered his head slightly. His affection for clansmen differed from Li Yuanshu's. Yuanzhao's loyalty came more from personal bonds than blood. In his heart, he had leaned towards sending a genuine branch daughter to reassure Yimu. Even if the risk of exposure was only 1 in 10,000, he did not want to alert the enemy. But since Li Yuanshu had already decided, Yuanzhao could only nod. As long as elder brother is confident, Li Yuanshu looked at him and saw the disagreement in his heart. He set down what he was holding and spoke gently. "Yimu is asking for a daughter from the minor branches. The minor branches mainly descend from 5 lines. Since the ancestors of those 5 lines separated from the main family, the old men among them now possess very high seniority. They rarely speak on important matters, but we must still pay attention to them. These people are close to us. They are valuable helpers. Several of the clan elders can speak directly even before father and granduncle. If we truly marry away a branch daughter without any benefit to her family, many clan elders and uncles will object. The unity of a household is the most important thing. Li Yuanzhao curled his lip. Who cares what they think? They are only mortals. Jiaoer. Li Yuanshu shook his head and spoke sternly. A clan can remain bound tightly together for two reasons. First, its cultivation methods and secret arts are passed down in proper order. Second, those above and below know humility, respect elders, and care for the young. Lose either one and the clan does not merely weaken. Internal conflict will never cease. No matter how clever the younger generation is, it will be useless. Everyone is intelligent. They remember how you treat people today. Do not look down on those clan elders because they complain and try to secure benefits for their descendants. They still understand right and wrong. They restrain their descendants and do not allow them to ruin the family. The clan administration can function partly because of their support. Li Yuanshu looked directly into his younger brother's eyes. If those old men discover that their children have disgraced the family, some will personally take up their walking sticks and drag the offenders to the clan administration to expose them. They understand the family's character. Deep down, they also wanted the Li clan to prosper. Besides, Uncle Chuyang and the cultivators of the minor branches have worked diligently for the family. If today you casually marry away their daughters, and tomorrow those women are abused, those loyal people will grow cold toward us. Li Yuanzhao opened his mouth. He had not expected Li Yuanshu to think so deeply. His view of those nagging clan elders changed. He nodded. This little brother has been taught. Li Yuanshu nodded approvingly and continued. In the past, cultivators of the main line had too little strength, and therefore guarded constantly against the collateral branches and minor households. Today, the main line is prosperous. Granduncle swordsmanship is one of the finest around Wangyu Lake. These minor branches and collateral lines are no longer threats. They are capable hands for governing the clan. We should draw them close, reward their loyalty, and treat them as members of one family.